Happy Saturday. Welcome to the open bar. We have Superfan Dakota for his second appearance. You popped your cherry the first time, Dakota, and now you're going to repop it, kind of like Mike Vrabel's popping Diana Rossini's cherry nightly.
Yeah, excited to be back. Thanks again, Rob, for having me. Not sure what these celebrities are doing in this world, knowing all these cameras and stuff are around. Definitely crazy to me, but I don't know. What do you think? What's your take?
It makes no sense. Like after the whole Coldplay thing, which went like crazy viral. And at first I was like, okay, big deal. I didn't realize they were both married and they're both like CEOs, the Coldplay thing. And, when you have that much to lose, you got to be careful. Also, maybe don't do that behavior. But, I'm not sitting here on my pedestal. We've all made mistakes. But Mike Vrabel, my thing is, remember the quotes back in the day with the Titans where he said he'd cut off his dick if they won the Super Bowl? Like, because his thing is like, well, I've been married 25 years or whatever. Now we all know how that goes in relationships, but he needs his dick because Diana Rossini needs that dick. So that's a weird quote, like coming from him to say, I'll cut my dick off. Like, what is he going to get pegged or something? I don't know. Weird situation. We were talking off camera here. Do you like if you think she's attractive? Because she looks like a little troll, but she's a very sexy little troll and looks like a little freak.
Yeah, she has some attractiveness to her for sure, but definitely not the most attractive woman I've ever seen.
She's 43. He's like in his early 50s. And she's also been on record, like ripping on her husband in a bunch of interviews, like calling him average and all these things, like just not a good look. And she's definitely getting fired, dude. She's gone. Also, the insider information she's gaining, like, how you'll say anything in bed with somebody, like he's telling everything to her. And it's just a wild situation, man. She's fuckable though. Like, I don't know. You're a pretty particular dude. You're single, right?
Yeah. Single. I mean, listen, it's not always all about looks, as we know. I know that's a cliche thing to say, but they were probably vibing, having a good time. This is not an isolated incident, so feeling each other, I guess. Probably should be faithful to the vows, though. That would be my suggestion.
Mike Vrabel's a pretty eligible dude if you take away him being married. Ex awesome linebacker on the Patriots, pretty good looking dude, big dude. Girls like getting manhandled. He's manhandling the fuck out of this broad, but she's gone. There's gonna be no issue with Vrabel besides his marriage, which in the NFL community, the fantasy community, we could give a fuck. He'll probably be a better coach if he's divorced because he wants to deal with the homestead. So it's just an interesting and a very, very funny situation. We can laugh at it because we're not involved, I guess is the way I'd phrase it.
Joe, what's the matter? Don't I turn you on?
I don't know what the problem is.
Well, would it help if you went back to thinking I'm your sister?
Like I'm some sort of white trash perv?
I'm your sister. I'm your sister.
Oh, you're my sister!
What a great
now, Mike Vrabel, I don't know where he's from. That's more for him if you're in the South, than people in Mississippi and Alabama. And shout out to Blake. He lives in Kentucky. They're all about their cousins. I think the farther south you go, the more like you get into close, immediate family, right? Like there's a fucking line you got to draw.
Yeah, I lived in the South. Good people, man.
Good people. Hey, good people still fuck their sisters, man. I'm just saying, like it's a culture thing, right? It's like Michael Vick had the dog fighting thing. That was a culture thing. In Mississippi, they bang their cousins. It's fine. Like as long as they're not your first cousin, okay?
There we go. All right. Well, I think Vrabel also continues to fit in well in New England with the coaches and the women and all of the things that have gone on there recently. So I think he's in a good space for that to be supported. So.
Let us know in the comment section what you think about the Vrabel situation. What are the repercussions? Are we being too loose talking about this and joking about this because it's not our lives? But again, we talked about this. It's like there's cameras everywhere. You're in it, it was the NFL Combine and it was like the owners' meetings. Like you're in cities and places where like there's going to be paparazzi out. There's going to be people taking pictures because why the fuck wouldn't they? Like Mike Vrabel is, she's in a bikini. They said there was like 6 people around. Like it was a group of people and there was no one to be seen. It was a ghost town. It was like their own private little like sandals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wild. And I think to your point, like we're joking, making a laugh of it. I mean, this is every day now in the media with sports figures and actors and politicians. So it's becoming a joke. I think we should laugh at it.
100%. We have fuck Jerry in here. These are both the same guy. We're both pretty handsome guys, so appreciate that. And I think we're both pretty fucking cool guys.
Yeah.
Besides when you take Mason Taylor and snag him from me in best ball, which is bullshit. You do one thing, and I'll never let it go, man.
Yeah, and if he's talking about Jerry Jones there with his name, I mean, I understand where he's coming from. So
yeah. Jerry Jones, definitely a known philanderer. Jerry Jones, he actually, a funny story, he was in my hometown, which is like 45,000 people. They had the owners meetings or something, like it wasn't like the official owners meetings, but they had some kind of like owners situation there at the Hotel Baker. And like the stories I heard about him, and this is probably 20 years ago, so he was probably in his 60s, just like he's old school, like inappropriate to women, like slapping their ass, and like, that was how he was brought up. But Jerry Jones has probably, what do you think the over under in terms of money Jerry Jones has paid to like settle like hush money for women he's fucked? 40 million?
Millions. Yeah. I mean, millions.
Yeah, he's got the oil money,
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't even know where to put a dollar on that. Yeah, it's got to be crazy.
Notable scumbag Jerry Jones, also notable terrible owner, and they got to get him out of there. Get out of there, Jerry.
Hey, definitely not a Cowboy fan, so I'm okay with it. The Cowboy fans that I know are aggressive and loud and obnoxious. So the longer that they're not able to be like that, the better. Live close to Philly, so get the Eagles fans already. Have a lot of, Cowboy fans are everywhere. Everybody knows at least.
I feel sorry for you, those Eagles fans, man. Besides the violence and anger, like they're also just morons, and like they're spoiled because they have a really good team, but they don't appreciate their team. Like they want more and more and more. They're greedy bastards. It's like, bro, like try being a Browns fan. You know what I'm saying? Like try being a Dolphins fan, and they just want more. And but they defend Jalen Hurts to the death. Jalen Hurts is never the problem. Jalen Hurts is a god. But like everyone else is the problem. It's wild. They have no idea what the fuck they're talking about, Dakota.
Right.
All right, yeah. Great show. We have a great show for you guys today. We're gonna go through. We have Dakota's guys for the NFL draft. 5 guys he loves. We know he loves men almost as much as Vrabel loves Rossini. We have that. If we have enough time, I'm going to go through I have 5 guys. I've talked about a lot of prospects. I've been doing the show every single night, so I want to get more your take on these guys. And if we have time, I have 5 guys that are rising up my draft boards, guys I haven't really talked about that I'm really warming on, that I, maybe hadn't watched a lot of film on prior. Usually guys that are going later in the draft, but I love some of these small school kids that no one's talking about. Everyone's talking about Carnell fucking Tate. Real quick, what's your take on Carnell Tate? You like him, right? You're at consensus?
No, he's definitely not the number one guy for me. You'll see here, and we'll talk about it. Somebody else that I'm going to be higher on in terms of receiver, but in a class where we just don't have a lot of talent from a fantasy perspective, he's definitely going to be taken, right? And we're going to see him. Let's see where he lands, because that could really shake things up as well. But yeah,
it's the Browns, I think, unfortunately. Which you can go on both ends. It's like one part is good; he's gonna have a great target share, but the other part of it that he's never been a number 1 in college, that's a problem. The quarterback play, as much as you love Deshaun Watson, like that's a fantasy take, not a real life take, I'm sure.
Right.
And like, I think with Carnell Tate, everyone's just looking at all the upside stuff and like the positives. No one's talking about the negatives. That I'm only talking about the negatives. Right. Although I think he's a 2nd-round prospect. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a weak wide receiver class, and I understand why he's the consensus 1, because he's probably the safest. Tyson has the injury concerns. Lemon's tiny, and then after that it's a bunch of guys. But like top 10 pick for me is rarefied air. And the last guy I know, like the school, Ohio State's awesome. Like they've been great for these wide receivers. Chris Olave, JSN, Garrett Wilson, like go even in the past. Always good prospects. They're always pro ready and elite. Right. But I think is everyone forgetting about Marvin Harrison? Like Marvin Harrison was such a better college football player and prospect than Carnell Tate. And he hasn't been like a total bust, but he has been based on where he was drafted. That's my concern with Carnell Tate, is like a top 10 receiver needs to be a can't miss guy. Unless you're the Detroit Lions, who drafted all those bums that stretch of years where it was like 3 straight guys that busted out of the league, and then they got Calvin Johnson. You need to have a guy that has an elite floor, which he does, but also an elite ceiling. I don't see the elite ceiling. He's not a monster of a man. He's small. Like, people are saying he's going to be T. Higgins at worst. Dude, T. Higgins is 225.
Right. Yeah, I'm not all the way out on Harrison. Again, it comes down to where are you landing, where are you heading. I think that's going to be the problem for Tate if he heads to Cleveland. It's going to be a tough spot. It's going to be a spot where you're going to have to be better than what you are really to excel and to be consistent and succeed. I think that's happening to Marvin too in Arizona. Just no consistency there. The quarterback is a video game guy, and feels like that's all he wants to be. So we'll see what he does in Minnesota, but doesn't seem too optimistic for him in Minnesota either, honestly, where Justin Jefferson hasn't moved since he's gone there. So
I'm not out on Harrison either. I'm more just with the lens of where he was drafted and the expectations, and you hear the word generational, which Marvin Harrison's a big guy, pretty fast guy, but generational is more for the Randy Mosses,
right,
or the Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, like that realm of player where it's like their measurables are so elite and their production was so elite at college, like they just can't miss. And some of these guys got drafted later for a bevy of reasons, like Randy Moss had the weed thing, which is hilarious. Like him and Allen Iverson, just like, he smokes weed. Like, how funny is that now that like, a college kid smoke weed? Right. Oh my God. Like the world's falling. Like, bro, no, I mean, it's not a big deal. Like if I was them, I'd be doing blow. I mean, weed. It's funny that's why some of these guys go, and it's not really character concerns with those dudes. And then, Julio Jones, I don't know why he fell in the draft. And some of these other guys, there's like one little thing and they're like, this is a character issue. This is a character issue. No, a real character issue is when you have a lot of smoke with a lot of different issues going on. Right. And like, now Carnell Tate's a great kid though. I'll say this, great kid, hard worker from everything I've heard. So you have that, but like going to the Browns, that's going to change a lot of people's opinion. You know what's going to be funny, Dakota, is I've been slandering Carnell Tate for so long now. When he goes to the Browns, I feel like the community is just going to overreact and be like, Carnell Tate's he's going to be terrible. He's going to be like an 8th round pick in fantasy. I'm going to be gobbling him up because I like opportunity and he's good enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think Jerry Jeudy's still going to be on the other side. And if we get anything resemblant of Watson starting and Watson being competent, let's just go crazy and say Watson finishes quarterback 10. I think, Tate's well in play there to be successful, especially if he falls at all.
You're still on that kid is back on the escalator again with Deshaun Watson. That's some rose-colored shit right there.
That kid is back on the escalator again. Remarkable. That's criminal. That kid is back on the escalator again. Leave it alone. What?
Yeah, no. So, and we've talked about this many times on the show here in the chat. 20th round, third quarterback, going to take a flyer on Watson because that potential to be a top 10 guy is there. It's in the cards. Am I betting on that? And I guess a little bit in $2 and $3 best balls, but I'm not betting on that in terms of I'm planting flags and screaming from the rooftops. So,
you've planted your flag. Don't you're I mean, because the risk is low. Essentially, it's your last round pick. My thing is that you're kind of you're sacrificing possibly like a Bryce Young type at your quarterback 3, which is higher draft capital. I understand that, but a safer option for what you perceive as the same value that he might return to you with a 5-round advantage. And that's kind of why you're going for it.
Yeah. I'm not in a best ball tournament like that where I'm trying to put together, as many teams that can shoot for the moon. I just don't see Bryce Young shooting me to the moon. So I'm gonna take a flyer on a Watson in the 20th round.
Yeah, I kind of play like a bitch. Blake has a question for us. What is the best position group in this draft on either offense or defense? I would think edge rusher, but I'd like to hear both your opinions. Edge rusher is pretty elite. There's a lot of really good defensive positions. My answer is tight end. And maybe because I study more the offensive side of the ball because I'm a fantasy guy. But the tight end group is, you have Sadiq, who's, quote unquote generational. I love Eli Stowers. And then I think it's just a really deep class. And with the way the NFL is going with all the 12 and 13 personnel, and the tight end is such a weapon and so important in the NFL right now, especially with the running game kind of being more important. You need guys to block opposed to wide receivers. that's my answer. What is yours, Dakota?
Well, from day one that I've, been viewing Professional Fanatics podcast and seeing you going live, you've been a tight end guy. So it doesn't surprise me that you're on the tight end wagon here. I'm not on that wagon. I actually think I'm going to let everyone else take these two tight ends early, and I'm going to look to try to find some value in maybe some running backs and wide receivers where maybe they're undervalued. I think though, probably the edge rushers is where it's at, right? That seems to be the high value. If I'm a GM drafting in this draft class in the top 10, that's where I'm looking to go. That just seems to be the best piece for the money when you're drafting in the top 10.
I feel like Bain is kind of a guy that's been forgotten out of Miami, and I see him going anywhere from like 8 to 15, and like you start getting in the teens where the talent gets a little less, and Bailey is like the number 2 pick apparently. Like I don't see much difference from these guys. I know that the issue is Bain has really short arms, and I am way more concerned about short arms. What we saw last year with the offensive line position, like that's a problem. I don't care about my edge rushers having long arms. Yes, it helps. But that dude's a monster that's just going to like bowl over left tackles. And you get like, I much prefer Bain at pick 12 than Bailey at pick 2.
Yeah. I have a fear that, Howie, the GM of the Eagles, is going to catch Bain sliding. And they constantly, that's their move in the first round. It's take the guy who's sliding. Seems to work out for them. These guys aren't these Hall of Fame type players, but these guys are great players and they fit into a really, really nice defense that they already have. And so that's my fear there with Bain. But I'm hoping someone recognizes that, sees that, and takes him a little bit earlier, keeping the Eagles out of that trade up potential.
The Cowboys are the clear answer. That's like a 1-to-1, not a 1-to-1, but a replacement for Parsons. You got your interior figured out. And like, I know as much as they want to go secondary, like what we've seen in the past, a couple of years, the Cowboys had an elite defense. Their secondary was a bunch of playmakers, but it was because of the pass rush. And it's almost like take the high floor pass rusher opposed to a project. Cornerbacks don't always come in and make impacts. And that's just going to make your secondary better. Like, I feel like that's the answer. But Jerry Jones likes to get cute in these drafts. Yeah. And he's going to read the thing about him having short arms. Be like, I can't take a guy with short arms. He's like a T-Rex out there because he doesn't watch film. Jerry Jones is an idiot. So that's a perfect landing spot for me at pick 12. I believe they have 10 or 12.
Yeah, I think you're 100% correct, right? I loved the Parsons trade from the Cowboys' perspective. They picked up, some nice pieces there, and I think to continue to build that front of that defense makes a lot of sense there. And then they're at 20 again, so they can take another wide receiver because we know that's what Jerry wants is more wide receivers. So they can still get that done in the first round as well.
All right, let's get to your list, Dakota. I'm going to hit you guys with the intro, and then we're going to get to your list, your 5 guys you absolutely love in the upcoming 2026 NFL Draft. Sorry to Tiger Woods. Sorry, Tiger. You know what? You're just so easy to joke about. It's like Dave Chappelle and the LGBTQ alphabet people. Like, it's just the jokes are too easy, and don't put a target on your back. You know what? If I kept on flipping vehicles, I expect people to make jokes at my expense, and get some help, man. Get some help, please.
Yeah. Definitely not smart to be out drinking and driving and putting lives at risk, especially your own. So yeah, Tiger, wish you the best, man.
Them damn pills, man. You know what? That's why I have Elvis on there, because I feel like the Tiger Woods theory is like the old school theory of they're prescription drugs. A doctor gave them to me. Like, first of all, you're Tiger Woods. A doctor is going to give you much more than he's going to give me and you. And right. Like, it's still a drug, dude. Like, a pill is a drug. Just because you're prescribed it and you're not shooting it up like it's heroin, same goddamn effect. And clearly you can't operate a vehicle. Like, you're not supposed to operate a vehicle on Vicodin, dude. Like, You know, he's taking the designer shit, the strong shit, and just hire a driver. I've said this a million times. It's not hard. Like, I want to go in a limo. I pay good money for a limo. Like, that's my goal in life, is to drive fucking limos.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what's a driver? Okay. I mean, put him up in the back of the house in a little guest house.
Yeah. Or get a buddy to do it or something, or a family member. And like, the thing is, that's funny about this situation is Tiger is notoriously cheap, like Scottie Pippen cheap. Yeah. And Tiger Woods is going to ascend to that, not Michael Jordan level of wealth, but like if he's not a billionaire already, he will be a billionaire. And like you saw during the arrest, he had singles in his they were on the outside, like his little money. Like, first of all, Tiger Woods should not be carrying cash of any sort, because Tiger Woods doesn't have to pay for a meal or any. It's Tiger Woods. They pay you to go places. If you want to go to Denny's, Tiger Woods, which he would probably eat at because it's really cheap, they're not charging you. It's Tiger Woods. You're signing autographs. People are so thrilled that you're around. So to carry singles, like, dude, I don't even carry singles. Like, I'm poor, but I'm not carrying singles because they're not useful anymore, because you need to have like 25 of them to buy anything. This motherfucker's got singles because he's cheap. So I just want to hire a driver. Here's the thing. Tiger, if you're listening, Tiger, I will be your driver for free. No charge. I will drive for you. Just give me like a bungalow like OJ had in the back for Kato Kalin. I will be your driver. You set me up with a bungalow, pay for my meals. I will drive you wherever you want to go. And give me some pills too. I want some pills. I want some of that designer shit. I'll just sell it. And that's my income. There we go. All right. Ready to get to your list, man?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm curious to hear your explanation of some of these players, because I like a lot of them. So we got 5 players here. These are Dakota's favorite draft values and favorite players in the draft based on where they're probably going to be drafted. So your number 5 is a guy I love, Malachi Fields, man. Give it to me.
Yeah, so kind of consider this a way too early, dynasty sort of draft value thought process here. Obviously, we're not going to know where these guys land for another 2 weeks, but once we know that, a lot of this will probably change. But when it comes to Malachi Fields, 6'4", 218, feisty run blocker, smart guy. If you don't know about UVA, really intelligent school. Notre Dame, of course, has its reputation. Do play to both of them. I just see him really as a number 2 option, and fitting in really well with the right team. If he continues to slide as his combine numbers, are dissected, I think, his value really opens up for Dynasty. If he falls into day 3, I think in a Dynasty rookie draft, we could get him in the late 2nd. And if for some reason he falls into the 3rd, I think you're trading up and doing everything you can to get him. When you look at his UVA tape, it's a little rough in terms of the quarterback play. It's just inconsistent, inaccurate. And so I'm not going to hit him on that, because when I see – what I see is him go up and get balls, and it's crazy athleticism going up to get balls. A little stiff in some of the route running. His route tree is not great. But for a fantasy aspect, the route trees that he runs, post, corners, and goes, those are fantasy. You eat those up in the fantasy world. That's how you score points. And so I want this guy on my team in Dynasty. Looking at an ex-receiver, I also think he has the potential to be a big slot guy and move around a little bit. This comp, no one's probably heard yet, but I'm looking and thinking a little bit Jalen Coker-ish. Both Virginia guys. Coker's a lot more in that slot role, but both huge verticals, both incredibly strong hands, big bodies, and I think this is a big value piece.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the X receiver piece, which is what he's most likely going to do, at least at first, is there's not many of those guys in this draft. There's a lot of the, I call them bubble boys, the guys that just running like Zachariah Branch, who I do like, Deion Burks is a little more than a bubble boy, but just little short, small, like gadget guys that are explosive, but they're not running big boy routes and they're not tall enough to play X. Where there's only a couple guys, 3 or 4 guys in this draft, and I don't even count Chris Brazzell, who's he's awful. We're gonna get to him later in the week. He's awful. So Malachi Fields is a very high floor prospect, but I comped him to Kenny Galladay, and Kenny Galladay went to school right down the road from me, NIU, Northern Illinois, played in the MAC. And before he lost his mind and got lazy, that whole Giant, when he got paid with the Giants and just was out of the league, he had a 5-year run. Now, you could say it was tied to Matt Stafford, who was a kingmaker at receiver. But, like, Kenny Galladay was good, and he wasn't overly fast, similar size, similar speed. This is Malachi Fields, and the high pointing is some of the best I've seen. It's the best this year I've seen, and then in a while. And I know Keon Coleman's also another comp. That's my low-end comp. Yep. But Keon Coleman, I think Keon Coleman's good. I think that everything that's happened with Keon Coleman is just between the ears, missing meetings, and just not, attention to detail and being lazy. That's the Keon Coleman thing. And we have no worry with Malachi Fields on that. Malachi Fields is the consummate pro from all reports. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but I think Malachi Fields is such a safe prospect, and he's being rated like wide receiver 13 in this class consensus. Yeah. That's too low for a guy that he's an NFL body. He's huge. He's a monster. And like, there's not many of those guys. So I love him.
Yeah. The big play potential's there, I think. And when you're looking for, late round dynasty value, you're looking for guys that are going to find their way onto the field. Well, a feisty run blocker is a guy who's going to make his way onto the field. Guys don't want to block anymore. So when you have a guy who's willing to go out there and do that, he's going to find his way on the field. I do, with the Kenny Galladay take, I actually do potentially like him in a spot like Detroit. They have they have a solid in there, and you could put him out at that X piece. I think that would be a nice little landing spot for him.
Yeah, good real life. I don't know about fantasy because they like Tesla. They traded out to get Tesla. Jameson Williams, though, is known to get suspended and injured. Your number 4, Deion Burks out of Oklahoma. Very small, very explosive. I think he had like 28 bench press reps at 180 pounds. Dude plays really strong. He ran, I don't know exactly, it's like a 4.32. Super fast, super feisty. Why do you love him?
So again, looking for, that late round dynasty value. If you could snag him in the 5th round, I think it's crazy good value in dynasty. We'll find out where he goes. But as he continues to look like a day 3 guy, because he is 5'9", 188, but the stuff stands out to you. A 4.3, 42.5-inch vertical. I like to think a little bit of like a smaller Debo here and kind of use him in the same way. Less of the running back stuff, but more in that get the ball into his hands quick, let him make plays. Freakish 540-pound squat. You mentioned the bench pressing, 23% missed tackle rate. I think and the route running is phenomenal. I think all of this leads to a guy who has the potential to make a team and make an impact. And if you can get him in the 5th round of a dynasty rookie draft, all the values there.
He plays much bigger too. I mean, the size is concerning, but not even the bench press stuff. Like, he plays taller. He high points the ball. He's very aggressive. For that size, usually don't throw up 50-50 balls, but I saw him on tape catch a bunch of those. So definitely a boomer bust prospect. But like what you mentioned with the draft capital that he's probably going to have is probably around 3, I would say, just because that speed is not going to go unseen in this draft.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
All right. Number 3 for Dakota, Casey Concepcion, another one of these guys I love. He's consensus wide receiver 4 in this draft. Wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. Him and Omar Cooper are right next to each other. You have him much higher, or do you have him at consensus, but you just love his fantasy prowess?
I have him, I would say, consensus 4. Let's see where he lands. But I think there's a big 3, and he's pushing to maybe make it a big 4. But probably right outside of that. Does he fall in the 1st round? Does he fall in the 2nd round? I don't see him outside of the 2nd round in the actual NFL draft. But I do think, elite separator, right? That crazy versatility. If you look at a guy who is a flat out wide receiver, this is the guy in this class. He'll play all positions. He's a returner. He's a yards after catch guy. One negative, though, and probably what keeps him out of that big 3 is he will drop balls. 1 in 10, right at about a 10% rate. Not exciting as you want to level up and get into a tougher spot in the NFL. But I think him being able to play all positions gives that PPR value. If I'm drafting at the 1-5 spot, I'm slamming the button on him all day long if he's there as at the wide receiver 4 spot. As you mentioned before, you like the tight ends. I don't. So I have him way ahead of the tight ends in terms of guys I want. And let him fall to the Chiefs, Steelers, Niners, a spot like that. And maybe I do take him ahead of 1-5. So,
you know where he's most likely going is, I think, a great spot is the Dolphins. They have no one there, and you mentioned that, like, you know, he's elite with the ball in his hands and the returning stuff. He's a weapon. He's just a fucking weapon that you can use anywhere. And let's not forget, as a freshman at NC State, he led. I don't know if he led his team in touchdowns, but he had an elite all first team season as a freshman, which I really value a true freshman at 18 years old that comes out and balls out, even at a smaller school. Like, that means that, like, it translated from high school. And then I know it was a little bit rougher later on. Not saying it was rough, but he didn't get better. But he also went to a new school. Like, he was great last year as well. Right. Like, those type of blue chip players, like, you can see the same thing happen in the NFL where he comes in and he actually gets better in the NFL. And, like, I love the versatility and just the ball in his hands. He's the best playmaker in this draft. I am at wide receiver 2 in this class. And I like him more than Lemon, Nate. I don't know why. Lemon is fine. I just feel like he's getting overvalued, and it's strictly because of St. Brown. It's everyone's like, oh my God, St. Brown went to USC. He's a smaller, like, shifty player. Like, dude, St. Brown's a one of one. St. Brown is, I hate to use this term, he's a dog. And, like, maybe Lemon is, maybe he is, but, like, he's also tiny with short arms. His film's great, but, like, I can't guarantee he's gonna be that guy. And I can't with Concepcion either, but he is just much more of an elite playmaker with the ball in his hands. Like, you get that guy, you know, in the backfield, you can use him almost as like a shiftier Debo, not as big, but, like, he could play everywhere. And, like, the JSN comp, it's hard because JSN was such a professional coming out with his hands and just being always in the right spot and just never dropping balls. But, like, a lot of these drops, you go back and watch it, man, there's a lot of concentration issues. And, like, he even admitted it, and he cleaned it up. He said his point was at the combine, he did all the drills and also did all the pass catching stuff. Didn't drop a single pass. And I think he's not a body catcher, which I like. If it's a body catcher drop situation, that's different. Like, this dude is catching with his hands and just, like, having, you know, routine drops. That could be cleaned up. Technique cannot be cleaned up, not in the short term, but that kind of stuff, I feel like, could be cleaned up. And if that's his negative, I love it. I will say one negative thing about him, one negative player comp, is Kadarius Toney. That he could be Kadarius Toney, and Kadarius Toney had a nice, like, 8-game stretch with the Giants. It was elite. He was like a must start in fantasy. He was blowing the world up, and then he fell off the face of the earth. And that guy, I don't think Concepcion is that much of a knucklehead that Kadarius Toney is.
As a Gator fan, Kadarius Toney was definitely had some alarming traits, to say the least. I think Concepcion, I think you're spot on, right? He could easily be the number 2 guy in this class. I'm hesitant to put him there a little bit because some of these other guys have that higher profile coming into college than he did. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but let's see where they go. Let's see how the NFL relates to him, because that's going to tell us a lot about how they're going to use him in fantasy. So I think he could easily be 2.
All right, number 2, my boy Emmett Johnson. I think you're the only one in the world that's high on Emmett Johnson besides myself. Out of Nebraska, was slow starting his career, and then last year just went bonkers. And the film's great. The combine was bad, though. Another one of these guys that just disappointed the combine and did everything. He did everything, and it was to his detriment, honestly.
Yeah, so I think for me, the guys that don't perform at the combine are some of those guys you're going to find that value in, right? So that's why he's going to be up here at number 2 for me. I think he's doing everyone almost 300 touches last year. The durability's there. What do you want in a guy who the NFL is going to take, late 3rd, early 4th? You want durability. You want a guy who can catch the ball, who can run with the ball, who can stay on the field. So I think if he falls into that day 3 pick, 4th round, His dynasty value could fall a little bit further. He's probably going mid to second round in dynasty. Someone might be wild like me and Rob and push, end of the first round for him because he is a running back and he potentially has that spot where he falls in the draft. So we'll see. But definitely feel like there's not a lot of, firepower. I'm going to look maybe for a guy who I think has a higher floor. And I think if he's in the right spot, this is the guy.
Yeah, I think I had a couple comps, and I'm trying not to cool on the guy just based on what everyone else thinks. I want to stick to my guns, and I appreciate you liking him. And his film is awesome. Now he's not a breakaway runner. He gets a little happy with his feet dancing wise, but I think his low end comp is a guy like Devin Singletary, which sounds really unsexy, but I'm saying that's his low end. He's shiftier than Devin Singletary, but Singletary had a pretty nice career. He's hung around, and we're talking about a potential day 2 prospect, end of second, early third rounds. We'll see how much the NFL teams value the combine so much. That's the worry. And it's like, he would have been way better off not testing at all because his film speaks for itself in my mind. But these guys get enamored with size speed things. Like it's the Mike Washington Jr. thing where it's like Emmett Johnson's film so much better than Mike Washington's film. But Mike Washington's 225 and he ran a 4.33. And it's like, well, now he's so much better than Emmett Johnson. Like he's not, because I watched them both play football. And yeah, if you get Mike Washington in the right system, if he goes to Kyle Shanahan and then he's the number 2 there, it's Raheem Mostert 2.0. But if he goes to a wasteland and a bad situation, he's going to be a guy that's just inefficient and just has bad vision, where Emmett Johnson's a pro. Like he's already a pro in my mind coming in. I hope he goes to the Vikings. I think the Vikings is a great spot because currently they have Aaron Jones as their, essentially their starter, but more of their, third down back. And then they have your boy as the leading, as Jordan Mason as the banger. And neither of those guys are very good. Aaron Jones at this point of his career is not very good and also just can't stay healthy. But Emmett Johnson has a chance to fight for that role from day one. And also he's the unique prospect that's a great pass catcher that can handle the workload. So he can kind of be the handcuff for both guys, right? He can play the early down role. If you get Jordan Mason hurt and if Aaron Jones gets hurt, guess what? He is now your third down back. So that's why he's really valuable for me, because there's not many true 3 down besides Jeremiah Love, guys that I trust catching the ball. And then the guys that trust catching the ball just aren't going to be, seeing the field first and second down. So I feel like that's what people are overlooking when they're ranking him so low. It's like, yeah, maybe he's not the best at anything. I think he has the best feet and best vision in the class, which matters to me as a running back because that's very important. But it's wild to hate on this guy. And his story mentions that it's a 1 year of production and he couldn't beat out other guys. You know what? Like, I'm looking at last year's film, and I don't know the reason he couldn't see the field as a sophomore. I don't know, but the numbers are awesome. The production's awesome. The film's awesome. And I love the vision. And I just think he's a day 1 plug and play guy. He doesn't have, I don't think he's ever going to be an all-pro player, but I think he can make some Pro Bowls.
Yeah, for sure. I think he can fit a dynasty need, add some depth, right? What I'm looking for. He had 39 receptions as a sophomore. Didn't had 100 less carries, 125 less carries. So obviously didn't have 1,500 yards rushing. But I think the Vikings makes a lot of sense. He can learn from two guys that sort of are like him in a sense. And his body style and how he can fit and play. I like that landing spot for sure. Again, looking for depth pieces. I'm probably going to lean towards, if I can get Emmett Johnson, let's say we can get Emmett Johnson around late in the dynasty rookie draft than a Price from Notre Dame. I'm going to lean Johnson. Not going to take a flyer on a guy like Price who couldn't find the field. If you're such a great prospect, why are you sitting behind a guy? Why aren't you going somewhere else? Number 2, why are you coming out now? The backfield's yours next year. Why are you coming out as a junior with no reps? Because you're going to buy into the tape that you have. So I'm not high on Price. I know a lot of guys are. I'm going to stay away from a guy like that for sure.
Oh, I despise Price, and for many reasons. Like you mentioned, like he couldn't see the field. And why didn't you transfer? And I think in his mind, it's like, this is a weak running back class, at least weak on the high end. And like next year is going to be better. Like, it has to be better because it can't be any worse. Yeah. And yes, he might be able to increase he should be able to increase his capital, but like, would he be RB2 next year? Even if he goes bonkers this year, probably not. So that's a little concerning as well. He's not betting on himself, but you get told by your agent and then people in your camp you're going to be a second-round pick and the second running back off the board, you just take that. And I always bring up the Roschon Johnson thing, which is the most accurate parallel of all time. Now, we don't know if it's going to turn out like that. And then also for fantasy, the other worry is he is an elite kick returner. I'm not trying to say he's not. But, like, you don't get points for kick returns in fantasy. So that's just less snaps he'll see on offense. If he's kick returning, every kick return he's out there, and he gets 4 or 5 a game, like, that's a touch. And that's a dangerous touch. So you're likely to get hurt, and they want to keep you fresh for that. So he's never going to be a true lead running back in my mind. And maybe Emmett Johnson won't either, but I also know Emmett Johnson is probably the best pass-catching running back in this class, at least one that can handle a workload.
Yeah.
And that plays, man. I know like NFL teams don't always value that, but we do as fantasy players.
Yeah, 100%. 100% agree.
All right. You're number 1, Jordan Tyson. The guy is always in the medical tent. Are you concerned, or are you just saying the talent's too good and you're going to look past the bevy of injuries he had at college?
Yeah, so right, that's the elephant in the room, the durability. That's the issue. Let's say that durability isn't here. This guy is by far and away the number 1 wide receiver in this class, without a question. So when it comes to the dynasty, when it comes to the talent and trying to build a team and trying to hit home runs, this is the kind of guy I want. He's a big time X receiver. He can handle high volume and draws high volume because his route running is phenomenal. He might be the best route runner in the last few years. So let's keep him on the field. I get it. But I think if he stays on the field, he's far and away the guy. He's my number 1 guy in this class. If for some reason you're in a rookie draft and he's sitting at 1-4, heaven forbid he's at 1-5, trade up. Don't even hesitate. Come get this guy and put him on your team because the ceiling is so high.
I love him. My confirm is Keenan Allen, a smaller Keenan Allen, a little shiftier version of Keenan Allen. And like, that's some rarefied air because that guy just caught passes, right? He was just always open. The only worry is that play style is dangerous in the NFL, even in this day and age, like going over the middle, taking those hits. And it wasn't just the biggest concern. I'm just going to play devil's advocate. And I also have Jordan Tyson as number 1 receiver because I don't feel like there's a lot of high-end guys outside of a guy we mentioned, Concepcion, who has some risk to his profile. I'm not a take guy, and Lemon I'm fine with, but he is by far the most talented guy. And if I'm going to take a guy in the first round in the top 15, especially, I'm shooting for the moon. Now I know that it could be bad because you want your guy to be on the field, but it's not just the soft tissue stuff, which is very alarming. That stuff tends to linger. Look at a guy like Christian Watson, who just, Ricky Pearsall, right? Like once they start having these soft tissues, like it just becomes an epidemic. But the broken collarbone, I'll give him a pass on because that's a freak play. But he's also tore up his knee a couple times. So now you have multiple ligaments in the past. Like it's not just one type of injury. So that's the concern. But like, I'm shooting for the moon here, and it's not going to be a top 10 pick because I think a lot of teams are scared off by the medicals. People love Tate. People love Lemon. People love Omar Cooper. So like, would it surprise you if he ended up going wide receiver 4 in this class?
It surprised me, but it would not surprise me if he goes off the board at number 9. He goes to Kansas City, and I can tell you right now, I have 1-2 in a dynasty draft. I will not even be hesitating within a second of coming on the clock. I'll be hitting the button, taking him at 1-2 if he ends up pick 9 to Kansas City. I think he fits really well into that space and that offense. So, I'm huge on the guy because of all the things you said. Lemon's not the guy, and maybe he's a good, solid 10, 12-year player, Lemon. Tate, it's up and down. We've seen guys hit. We've seen guys miss out of Ohio State. And Concepcion has his questions as well. I'm a Tyson guy. Give me him all day long.
All right, I have my list of 5 guys. I do want to put a graphic up here. I'll show you Michael Jackson first. Hello, Michael. Look at that. Look at that mutant. Look at that hideous creature. The movie's coming out, dude. The Michael's coming out here in a couple weeks. You gonna check it out?
Yeah, it's funny you said that. I looked at the theater listing today. I thought maybe it was this week. I guess maybe it's next week. But yeah, I'll probably pop
They
it.
moved it back because there's some issue. I don't know. You know how it is. It's Michael Jackson. Right. There's like litigation stuff and.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Did you see Leaving Neverland? Did you see that one? The real Michael Jackson movie?
So, again, man, I did not. No, I'm never a big fan of hearing people go on for the potential to make money because I can't trust it one way or the other. So I don't know, right? I did mention to you in the chat at one point, lots of high profile kids who were scared and running for their lives, supposedly child actors, all swear by MJ and said he was saving them and he was taking them to Neverland. And that story sounds like it makes a lot more sense today than it did 15 years ago. But again, wasn't there. I just hope everybody's safe and protected, I guess, so that's kind of
my thing is let's just take a look at this creature. Now if there was ever a picture to be next to the word pedo in the dictionary, this is it, right? Like, I'm just saying, this is it. Like, this guy right here, with those decisions, with that face. And I just go back to I don't necessarily trust the two guys that didn't Leaving Neverland. I don't trust them. And a lot of people say why they come out now. If you know anything about victims, they sometimes never come out. Like, the percentage of people that actually share their story is like 10 to 20%. Like, it's just it's a rough part for them. They want to leave it in the past. It's not actually therapeutic. It doesn't work. But I'm saying that's just human nature. But the fact remains that these two boys documented were having sleepovers with Michael Jackson every single night. But one of the two of them was in his bed every single night for 2.5 years. Like, that's a fact. Now, whether anything inappropriate went down, which I would bet something did, because why are you sleeping with little boys? That's my only thing. Like, we're both, he was in his early 40s, late 30s. He's our age, right? I want to bang chicks, dude. I want to sleep with women. And it's not, if you don't want to, if you're asexual or you're gay, even like that, or you don't want to sleep with anyone, that's fine. But don't do it with little boy. That's just weird. That's inappropriate. That's goofy shit. And like, I just know that's not normal. And that's my thing. If you're gonna do something weird like that, like, I'm gonna automatically assume evil, because people are evil. Not all of them. Some people are really great. He might be one of the best people of all time, dude. There's a 1 to 5% chance. I don't know how to put the rankings on it, that he is like the best person ever. He was literally only out for like the best interest of these kids. Unfortunately, Jerry Sandusky, a valued member of, in the community, great guy by all accounts, right? What happened there? That's just one example.
Yeah. Jerry Sandusky. Yeah. I mean, what a monster.
But he wasn't thought of as a monster, Dakota. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jerry Sandusky was thought of as like a pillar of the community, but his wife didn't believe it. Like, Joe Pa didn't believe it. Now, Joe Pa's a moron, but like, I'm saying, he kept his job. He was very active in the church, right? He's a very, very spiritual man. Like, get the fuck out of here. These guys are hiding in fucking plain sight.
Yeah, no. So growing up very close to Penn State University, those guys are gods and legends, and that was the thought forever and untouchable, and that's the perfect space for a guy like that to fly under the radar. Unfortunately, and hopefully that brought it to light that something like that never happens again. Jumping back to Michael, though, and you're showing that photo, I think, like you said, victims a lot of times don't tell their story. When I see that photo, I see a victim. I see a child who was forced into, the limelight, who was forced to not be a kid, to be an adult as a child, to not do things normal kids got to do. And I can see, as well as where I could see the negative, I could also see the positive of, this is a guy who wanted to make his goal to protect children and protect their innocence and protect them. Now, sleeping in a bed with them, I do agree, is very strange, very awkward, not something I would be doing.
The word's inappropriate. It's fucking inappropriate.
Yes, dude. Inappropriate for sure. So
no, he doesn't know any better, though, because he's never been told no, and to your point, man, if he is a bad dude, like, it's not his fault, right? Like, he was a product of his environment. And like a lot of these guys, there's a reason that people hit women. They see their dad do it. Like, but the reason they're still hitting women. Like, I don't care why you got to this point. You can blame the parents or the upbringing, and that's for real. But it's nature versus nurture, and it's fine. I get it. But like to say he's innocent because it wasn't his fault is insane.
No,
and like tell that to the parents and the kids. Now the parents are also just as guilty letting their children be alone. Like, they're the real idiots. But you know what? They see Michael Jackson, they see money, they're getting all this lavish shit. So I'm saying everyone's at fault here, as well as if I'm saying hypothetically if it happened, which I think it's a good chance if you didn't notice. Everyone's at fault. His team, everyone allowing it to happen. And it's like also, you're such a big star, like you could have any woman in the world. Or any guy in the world, or any dog in the world. Bestiality is bad. Not as bad as fucking with children. Like, have anything, and you want to choose kids. Weird.
Yeah, no, parents. I'm not a parent myself. I'm not in school, but man, what were they thinking? I think would be my initial question. And number two. Right. MJ can have all the women. They're all falling over him. But at what point, if you're a hurt child and a hurt adult, is it tough to make that connection, right? Is it tough to have, and one is what you can offer them. So I can see why it's hard for him to make that connection there. Sad to say, he's probably in a better place now because he's not suffering. Because that picture looks like a dude who suffered for a long time.
Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing about it, but it's pretty fucking funny. I laugh about a lot of things.
Yeah.
What a great episode. If you have not seen that South Park episode, highly recommend it. Mr. Jefferson is his name in that one, and he's trying to fly under the radar, which is just pretty goddamn funny. All right, I'm gonna get to my list, guys. It's gonna be a shorter show. There's 5 people in here. If anyone wants the show to go on, I'll stay on here as long as I can. We do have the open bar. Standard show 1 hour. First super chat goal is an additional hour. Second super chat goal is 45 minutes. Me and Big Ray did a 5-hour and 9-minute stream about a month and a half back. That was pretty epic. If we get to 3, we'll start doing some best ball drafts. If not, tomorrow I'll be on here doing some best ball drafts. We'll go a little over the hour because I want to get to my guys here. Guys that are shooting up my draft board and guys I haven't really talked about on the show. So I have talked about Skylar Bell a lot, so I'll go quicker on this one. But have you watched a lot of Skylar Bell out of UConn?
I have not. I'm going to be honest with you, Rob. You're going to teach me a lot about 4 of these guys. So I'm excited to hear your takes.
So Skylar Bell, wide receiver 15 consensus, and the most productive guy last year out of UConn. Over 100 catches, like 13 touchdowns. Dude's a monster. Plays all 3 positions. Had an amazing combine, too. I think it's just the fact that he played at UConn. And me and Blake were talking about this in the Discord in a DM. He loves Skylar Bell. I want to rank Skylar Bell ahead of Mekhi Lemon, but like I just feel like the opportunity, where the draft capital is going to be, that's a bad decision. He could be better, but he just won't get the opportunity. But, there's small school. Like, dude, USC is also like a wide open offense. So like what he did, the parallel, I'm looking at the player, and Skylar Bell is very productive. He's very savvy, hands catcher, can play all 3 positions. He's just so pro ready. 6 foot 190. He's big enough. Love the kid. Absolutely love him. And I just don't understand the hate. Like he's going to be, I don't know my rankings yet, but he is borderline top 5 for me. So 10 spots out of consensus.
Really? Wow. So where do you see him fitting in the NFL draft? And I know this is a crazy hard thing to do because we have no idea what the NFL thinks of him at this point.
So I feel he's going to be a day 2 pick. I feel like he's probably a round 3 guy, but the production doesn't lie. And what I love about Skylar Bell, a lot of these guys are landing spot dependent based on, is it a scheme that fits what they can do, right? Skylar Bell is a guy that if they need a slot receiver, boom. If you need a guy that can play some X, boom. You need a Z receiver. Like if you need a guy that can come in as number 1, if you're talking about like the Dolphins or teams that are really thin at the depth chart, he can be that. If you need a depth piece, like some of these other guys, they're so particular in how they're going to succeed. I think he could succeed at any point. He could be a role player. He could be a number 1. Maybe not a number 1 as a rookie, but the Dolphins, what does it even fucking matter? Like they're trash. So I just love the floor of Skylar Bell, and the measurables are just they're amazing. And I just don't understand why people aren't talking about him. It's because UConn, but like Puka Nacua went to BYU. Stephon Diggs, my comp for him is a faster Stephon Diggs. He went to Maryland. Like he was a 5th round pick. So it's like not like these guys, the best receivers in the league aren't all Ohio State guys. You know, there's a bunch of them went to Ohio State and USC. I understand that. Right. There's also a lot of guys that fly under the radar that are just good football players. And he's going to fall into, I sound like Lovie Smith. Like he's going to fall into the good football player mold to me. But like, unlike Emmett Johnson and Malachi Fields that kind of, you know, had dud combines, this guy actually had an elite combine, and it checked all the things I saw on film. You know, the worry is with these small school guys. It's like, well, he did it at UConn. He did it on a bad team with bad, you know, against bad talent on defense. But then you look at the combine, it's like this dude should have played at USC. He should have played at Ohio State because he has elites everything. Like hold on, I gotta scroll all the way down to find him because Draft Buzz has him at fucking 15. Clowns. Here we go. Actually, no, at 14. Woo, okay. So he had 98 percentile broad jump, 93 percentile 3-cone drill, 41-inch vertical, ran a 4.4, 1.53 10-yard split, which is 74 percentile. He's got 77% hands. He's 6'1", 192. Like arm length is a little like it's 33 percentile, but like you mix that with the production and the film, like I don't understand why people are sleeping on this guy. I really don't.
Yeah. So you're crystal ball, you have him going ahead of Malachi Fields in the draft?
Man, they're just such different players, and it's about the team needs. I think they're the same range. The guys that are more like concerning that shouldn't be taken ahead of him are the speed guys. You know, your Zachariah Branches, your Deion Burks, like those guys should not be taken ahead of him because they're projects and they're projections. Right? It's like this guy could be great. He could be elite. He also could be Malachi Corley and be a guy that's just a gadget player that just, you know, can't see the field. And like that's what teams get enamored. But it's like this guy ran a 4.4. Like 4.4 to 4.3 is not that big of a difference. Like when you get to the 4.6s, that's when you have some concerns. If their play speed isn't the same, they don't have these, you know, like we like Malachi Fields because we're not concerned about the 4.61. Like I feel like he plays fast. He's a monster. He doesn't need to have separation because he's going to fucking moss everyone.
Yeah, and the 4.6 for me, Jerry Rice famously ran a 4.6. Game speed, you can pull up plenty of film on Jerry Rice outrunning people in the football field. So don't always fall in love and hate or love somebody because of a 40 speed at a combine in shorts. But yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'll check this guy out. I'll look into him a little bit. Maybe I'll
definitely do. You're gonna shit your pants after the show, and you're gonna be rock hard, and you're gonna be like, Rob, thank you for turning me on to Skylar Bell.
Yeah.
One last thought on the 40. I watched this really interesting. It's a random YouTube video I found about how like 40 time is just a lie, and we know the history. I brought this up in the show a couple days ago. I don't know if you watched about the history of all the guys with the high, like the best 40s, and how they're all bust. 1,000 yard receiving season from all the top 30 guys. If you take Tyreek Hill out, because that wasn't a combine 40.
Yeah.
And straight line speed's one thing, but you're never outside of like, you know, catching a go ball on your own 20-yard line. When are you ever running 40 yards straight? It just doesn't happen. And JSN is a great example of a guy that was slow for his size, but he's elite at running not straight line, but like when you're on an angle, those things. And he's actually faster on an angle than he is straight line. And that's the difference that I know the thing is we need a measurable to have these guys to stack them up against each other. I understand that.
Right.
And the 40 should be a thing. It's everything for these evaluators. And like, I much more trust the film. And as long as it's not super alarming, like 4.8, right? No, obviously no receiver will run that, but like 4.6 is the cutoff, right? Where Malachi Fields is at. But 4.3 to 4.4 is 4.4 is fast. You're fucking fast. You're an elite speed player in the NFL. And I just feel like people get so enamored with the speed. Like Bijan Robinson is not that fucking fast. Like he's got the best lateral agility in the world, and he's in a running back, which is what matters, right? And being able to set up your defenders, and like Puka was really slow. It also had really bad 3-cone, where you think Puka would have great 3-cone when you watch his film, but it doesn't matter because he's also a really smart football player.
Right.
and setting up defenders and understanding leverage and coverages and like
right.
being able to diagnose what's in front of you. I know like everyone thinks it's all like quarterbacks matter because they have to be smart. Like, dude, wide receivers have to be smart too. Like,
Right.
unless you're literally Randy Moss, the only guy that didn't have to be smart. Not saying he wasn't smart, but like Randy Moss didn't matter. He's taller than you, he's faster than you, he's more skilled than you. He's going to just burn you. But like these other guys, Puka is just a genius in the field. If you watch what he's doing and you mix that with Sean McVay, who's a genius, Matt Stafford, who's one of the most veteran quarterbacks in the world, like that's why Puka became a thing. But like a lot of these guys aren't going to the Rams, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah. No, Randy Moss is that true just throw it up guy. Man, that rookie year was crazy to watch. I think everyone gets excited about these 40s, and you're 100% correct. There's no time that you're just running straight 40 yards down a field unless you're trying to catch somebody from behind. You have quarterbacks who have to throw you the ball in that perfect straight line 40 if you get loose to even be able to run under one. That happens so infrequently. It's just not a valuable asset really when it comes to evaluation.
We also didn't mention they're not in pads, like, and they're not carrying a football. So like those things right there. And there's ways to cheat the drill. Like some guys really dive in because they know how important it is for their draft stock. If their film isn't great or their production isn't great. And it's a technique thing, right? And like if you go back, I watched Josh Allen's 40 time, which was I think it was like 4.7-ish. Let me look that up. Blake, can you look that up in the chat for me? Josh Allen's 40, and he was like standing up, almost like leaning back, and his 40 time was bad. And I'm not saying Josh Allen's a burner, but he is super fucking mobile, and like the 40 time did not translate. And like because he obviously didn't care about. He's like, you know what? I'm not a Lamar Jackson type. Like I don't really care about my 40 time.
Right.
And like the technique thing is what people do, and that's why the 40 times are better than what they play.
Exactly. If you spend 3 months preparing to run a 40, Rob, you would drop 3 to 4 seconds, right? Or tenths of a second. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But I understand if you're a football player and you're trying to get paid, getting drafted is how you get paid. Yeah, you're going to lock in, spend 3 months, do it. You'll never run it again after that, though. There'll be these guys that spend 10 years in the league, they don't run 40s ever again.
Nope. Okay, my number 4 guy here, Jamari Taylor out of – the hell is he out of? Really killing it here. Virginia, sorry. I had the wrong page up. Everyone loves Katron Allen out of Penn State, and Allen's a monster. He's a bigger guy. Jamari Taylor is a similar back, 5'10", 199. Dude plays like he's 220. A lot of Bucky Irving vibes on this guy. Now his combine was not great. Like nothing is over 50 percentile. He ran a 4.63, but lateral agility, power, very determined runner, great vision. I think this guy is going to be slept on, majorly slept on. Draft projection 6th round. So I just see a guy like Bucky Irving who is undersized, but Bucky Irving is also very slow top end speed. But that's my comp for this guy, is he is a more bruising Bucky Irving, also a really underrated pass catcher. So he comps as a possible 3-down back in a draft that doesn't have very many. And everyone loves Katron Allen. I have this guy ahead of Katron Allen because Katron Allen's a 0 in the passing game. And I don't think he's that elite of it as a runner. Like he's probably more of a bruiser than this dude. But Jamari Taylor is shifty. He is feisty. And at 199, when I watch the film, I see a guy that weighs 210, 215. And that's how he plays.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of things to bash the guy on, right? But I think you hit the nail on the head in a draft where you got to try to find guys that have potential. Let's see where he lands, and there's that probably will open him up for sure to some more potential. But concerning, he's 24 and only has one All ACC ranking at this time or award. A little concerning. And you said what, 4.7, 40? Not super.
4.63. Yeah, it's not great. But he's got that lateral agility, and it's Bucky Irving was a guy I loved coming out, and everyone was just like, he's small, he's not that productive in college, not straight line speed. And now it looks pretty bad. Bucky Irving's not the greatest player anymore, but I think there's still some hope there. It's more of a usage problem with Bucky Irving than it is a talent thing.
For sure.
So, and also sixth round, like I feel like he should be a 4th rounder. That's why I have him on this list. A guy that's just he's ranked at RB10. I have more like RB8, so it's not like a crazy. That's why I
Yeah.
have him down at 4. Skylar Bell would be number 1 on this list, guys, but he couldn't rise up my board anymore because I already had him as borderline top 5, like 10 spots had a consensus. My number 3 is a guy I was ripping on Storey about loving is Nick Singleton out of Penn State. And I went back, and what I did was I only watched my first evaluation. I went through and I read about the guys. I look at everything. And then I only watched his senior year, which was it was his worst year, which it's a little alarming. But then I went back and watched all of it, specifically his freshman year. And he was the number 1 running back coming out of high school. And, had a lot of Saquon Barkley comps, actually, which is really tough to live up to that. But as a freshman, had his best year. And again, I love these guys that come in and just dominate. And unfortunately, he broke his foot at the Senior Bowl, so he was not able to do anything in the combine. No measurements. Oh, you got measurements, but no on-field stuff. And this is a dude that would, we're talking about Mike Washington, who just rose up everyone's board because of the combine. This dude would have broke the combine. He is 6 foot 220 and projected 4.39 40. But his film is rough. Like he doesn't play as powerful as he should, but he is a home run hitter. He is an elite 3-down back if given the potential. So I like him more as a fantasy prospect than I do a real life prospect, if that makes sense. But I feel like he's going to be a value because he did not do anything in the testing.
Yeah. Do you see him as a guy that could sit behind Barkley and sort of be a mini Barkley down the road?
That's pretty crazy praise because that's an all-time talent, but
for sure.
I just know one thing. He's decent at pass pro. He's got like elite breakaway speed. Like for his size, like if you take away Mike Washington, who is just more of the idea of Mike Washington is better than the actual player. He is the most explosive running back in this class, and he's in my mind the second best pass catcher behind Emmett Johnson. So a guy that size should not be his strength is being he's a scat back. Like that's a strength, which that plays in the NFL. And if you can clean up some of the other stuff, some of the vision stuff, and get him a little better technique there in the hole and getting skinny. This guy comps and profiles as a 3-down back. It's gonna be awesome for fantasy. So I want to, I will always admit when I'm wrong or when I change my opinion. I can do that. We all should do that more in the fantasy community because everyone just gets so dug in on their points. Yeah. And they don't want to admit they're wrong because it's like showing weakness. Like, dude, when new information comes to light, or I can say I maybe glossed over him more than what I should have based on a couple of things I read and based on the senior production, like that was on me. And it sucks that I went on this very show and was ripping on the guy. But guess what? Like, I'm not always right. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my first inclination's right. But as of now, he's a guy that I'm going to have in my top 5 just based on a weaker high-end upside running back class this year. And this guy could be the best running back in this class. Like maybe not with Love, like outside of Love, he could be the best running back. Yeah,
no, I think that's really fair. I think we all go back, reevaluate. It's a ton of film. It's a ton of stuff. So changes are happening all the time. But yeah, you're talking about a guy with elite speed, elite strength, 665-pound squats, 26 mile an hour on the GPS. He can catch the ball, 50-plus touchdowns. And I think when you look at his film and his senior year, we probably forget his quarterback went down super early. The team was in shambles. Guys are going to stack the box a little more against him there. But I think he does have a lot of the traits that Barkley possesses, doesn't have all the production that Barkley does, hence why we're talking about him here down the way. But I think if he goes to the Eagles, he could see a decent career there.
God, behind Barkley. Although I do like Tank Bigsby. I think Tank Bigsby is going to be one of my number 1 drafted players in redraft in like the last round as a handcuff because he looked great last year and they did trade for him. And, Barkley with all of his issues last year, health wasn't one of them. And now he's coming off now as much as I do love Saquon for this year, but like there are some negatives in terms of the profile, the age. He's had injuries in the past and like 2 straight years of, was it 750 touches for the last 2 years? That's a lot. And he's an aging running back. That, like all it takes is one turned ankle and you have Tank Bigsby in my mind as an RB1 for all of those weeks. I love Tank Bigsby.
Right. And that would put a guy like Nick Singleton into play if he's sitting there as well, for sure. I think one thing, and actually jumping back to the guy you were talking about before, where, the play and things, when we're talking in Dynasty, and we're looking for value, sometimes drafting guys, and I think I kind of look at Tyson this way as well, is if a guy hits for 1 year, their value in a trade and dynasty is crazy. So, that's why I think taking a shot on a guy like Tyson makes a lot of sense, because letting him have a top 5 receiver year, that dude's trade value is off the charts. Think of Deebo Samuels. Again, the comparison continues to fit. Deebo had that top 5 season, and then if you traded him then, you won that trade by a landslide, because he couldn't play then after that, because all those nagging injuries that bothered him in college as well came back. So I think very valuable points, right? You need guys that could hit when you're looking late in dynasty drafts. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we always got to think of these things, and it's not just in dynasty. It's also like GMs and sports. And you look at these things like stocks. And I always said in the NBA, like a perfect example is Marvin Bagley, who has not turned out well, but was drafted ahead of Luka. Like it was a bad pick, but like you could have him for a second round pick, when he's 23 years old. Like I'm always going to take the shot on former lottery picks, former elite prospects. And it goes back to the, all the stuff that's happened on quarterback position, like guys like Will Levis and Anthony Richardson. Like maybe they're damaged goods, maybe, but when you're looking at a guy that was a top 5 pick in the draft and they're still 23, 24 years old, Zach Wilson, for instance, like a bad pick, he should never have been a first round pick. But now you're looking at a 5th round pick to get these guys. Like the cost to get them and the upside, like it's literally no cost. And like I always want to just and you know what? You can also just go ahead and flip them. Look at Mac Jones. Like now the Niners, they didn't want to do it, but they could have got a 2nd round pick possibly, and it was free. It was also a cheap contract. It was free for them to get him in the building, help your team, and reclamation project, boom, ship them off. Like that's good business. But teams don't look at it like that. They're like, they respect the other GM so much, which is wrong, because these GMs are terrible. And like just because they missed on him, they mismanaged him. He wasn't ready. They overdrafted him. Let that be their problem, and then you go ahead and you go and take their fucking candy. And like that's what I'm gonna do with Dynasty as well. Like even if you don't need a specific position, you think a guy could not even pop off, but like show promise, or the depth chart might clear up in a year. Like these are guys to target, because that's good business.
Yep.
You sell high and you buy low. That is literally how you make money in fantasy. That's how you make money in the stock market. That's how you make money in life. Okay, I have my number 2 guy. I don't know. You know anything about this guy, Oscar Delp?
I don't. Not a guy who jumps off to me here. So
no. So he's tight end 9. I went to Georgia. He sat behind Darnell Washington and then Brock Bowers. And the production was even bad this year. He was like 300 yards. Like it's not a ringing endorsement. So the production profile is not there at all. Obviously, early on, you know why he didn't produce, because Brock Bowers is elite and Darnell Washington's an NFL player. But this dude is 6'5", 245. So the same size as like Max Clare and some of these other guys is Eli Stowers. Ran a 4.49 in his pro day. Didn't do anything in the combine because he was hurt, but 4.49, 38 vertical, broad jump 95 percentile, 75 percentile bench press, 161, 10-yard split, which is really good for a tight end. And he's inline multi-role tight ends, how they describe him. He did a lot of blocking at Georgia. And he's kind of undersized, but I know he's a solid blocker. But like watching this guy's film, it's very limited because, like I said, not many targets, not many catches. I don't know what the hell Georgia was doing last year with using Zachariah Branch as literally 3 yards in an ADOT, and like mismanaging all their players and not getting Oscar Delp involved. But like I always say this about tight ends: production matters the least at tight end, because I always mention the basketball guys. And like, I want a tight end mold. I want a guy that checks these boxes, and then we can make him work in the NFL. Can he be an elite athlete in the NFL? Can he block? And then we can bring this guy along slowly. So Oscar Delp for me is the second most. I'm telling you, it's the 2 guys at the top, Sadiq and Stowers, and then it's him. And he is closer to those guys athletically than he is anyone else in the field. And the fact that he's going to be like, I don't know, man, 6th round pick, 5th round pick. They have projected 4th round pick. But I love the blocking, and I think that he's just going to get slept on because of production. In the film, there's just not a lot to watch. But what I did see of it is a dude that just straight line speed, very, very strong blocking, really, really good hands catcher. Like those things, dude, some of it looked like Brock Bowers. That's a crazy thing to say, but maybe it's the jersey. Maybe it's the fact he's white. man, this guy is just being slapped on. Tight end 9. I know it's a good tight end class, but like, give me the upside of this guy.
So talk to me about these tight ends for a minute, because I just want to get your insight about this. I've kind of razzed you a little bit on the tight ends in terms of drafting Njoku when he's still a free agent and things like that. So I've given you a little grief there. It makes a lot of sense, and I understand the Njoku thing. But talk to me about, so we're saying the tight ends this is a big draft class. Is this a big draft class because there's, not a lot of receivers, not a lot of running backs, frankly, 0 quarterbacks? Is that why you're so high on this tight end class? Is there something I'm missing? Because I really don't like the top 2 guys. I'm going to let everybody else overtake them because I just don't see it with them. But that's kind of my take on tight end. So just wanted to hear yours. Super
deep. Now, Sadiq, you can't argue the measurables. And like, this is a possible generational player coming out. I love Stowers, man. This dude is, I feel like he could just convert to wide receiver and be a top 50 pick. And I actually think he's a definitely more pro-ready tight end in terms of receiving than Sadiq. And then Max Clare is safe and steady. Sam Roush, Storey and Mouth, love this guy. Michael Trigg's a guy I'm pretty high on out of Baylor. He comps as one of those basketball guys, like the longest wingspan ever recorded at the combine for a tight end. High point the ball, great production there at Baylor, 70 catches, I believe. I don't like Endries. Joey's okay. And then Joe Royer is a guy that's really good. He's like I comped him as a poor man, Aaron Hernandez, just really good after the catch. And then Oscar Delp, and then I like Eli Raridan out of Notre Dame. So like I feel like all these guys, it's a very deep class. And with most people, they think the top 2 guys are elite. So you have some high end guys, and then it's just deep. And also with the way the NFL is going, they're going to value the position. So
when you say elite, where are you seeing these guys? So like let's project 3 years down the road. McBride's still going to be there. Bauer's still going to be there. Our guy in Detroit's still going to be there. Where are these 2 guys? Where do you see them? Do you see them at 1? Do you see them at 4? Where do you see these guys sliding in 3 years?
What do you mean by that? 1 or 4?
Like in terms of end of year, right? End of year. So 2028 end of year fantasy rankings. I mean, do you see them as potential tight end 1s? Or are we looking at just guys that, hey, it's a depleted tight end world in the NFL right now, and we're just looking for guys that are going to catch balls and 50 catches, and that's fine. And then so are we comping a tight end 4 better than a wide receiver 30? Because in my world, I'd rather chase for that wide receiver 30 guy. Just my thought. I'm just interested in what you're
I do think that they have that upside. I mean, Sadiq's going to have the draft capital and he has the measurables. Okay. That he has to work, right? Like he's going to be, I know the Buccaneers are looking at him at 15, which would be a nice spot for him to not have the pressure of just being a top target. And just, the low ADOT stuff would be awesome with Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And then all these other guys have roles, but I guess there's not a lot of besides Sadiq, there's not a lot of high end guys, but all these guys I feel like have potential to be starting tight ends in the NFL. Now, how that translates to fantasy, that's all dependent on landing spot, how they're going to be used. But the skill set's there, and I think that tight ends get paid now, man. Like, so I think a lot of these athletes, instead of like being a bigger bodied wide receiver, they're like, fuck it, I have a better chance to be an elite, have elite draft capital at tight end. These teams are drafting tight ends more. They need more of them. Look what the Rams are doing. Like, they're literally running out 4 dudes at 30% snap share or more. And it's a way to see the field early and often, because with the added 12 personnel, that's taking a receiver off the field. So now you're looking at like snap share wise, it's not even that much different than wide receivers. Like, it used to be like 3 wide receivers was the standard, right? And it was 1 tight end, the second tight end was just in there blocking. Now it's like you have 2 tight ends, your second tight end's playing as much as your slot receiver in some of these offenses. So that's going to make the position more valuable. And what I love for fantasy, specifically underdog, which is why I always take the 3rd tight end, is touchdowns are going to be more plentiful with tight ends, right? They're going to get those essentially goal line looks that the slot receiver's not on the field. And these teams are getting real frisky, second and goal from the 4. They're not content with just running the ball anymore. And I don't know if that's because the linebackers are faster and it's hard to get around the edge, and, you have playmakers up the middle, or it's the fact that it's just easier and they trust these quarterbacks more just to do a little play action, or even like what we saw with Dallas Goedert last year. all those little design touches that was wild because it wasn't going to Saquon Barkley. 13 touchdowns from Dallas Goedert, a 30-year-old body. Right. Wild stuff. We have mouth in the house. That's a good way to say it. Mouth in the house. If you want tight ends, check all the vids on the top tight ends. Check my rankings. We got all the deep dive info on the channel. Appreciate you, Mouth. I actually have, let's see, do I still have this up here? Do I? I do. Here we go. I'll go to this in 1 second here, Mouth. I do want to shout out your channel, though. Appreciate you. Downtown Sports Gentlemen. They're on YouTube now, so go give them a follow. Also, 23 other platforms. Mouth and Beast do a great job. More real life than fantasy. Where sports comes home. That's Downtown Sports. Check the description or just search Downtown Sports. You can't miss them. And also, here's Helen Hunts. Hello, Helen. Looking great today, as always. We can go talk about Mouth's rankings real quick before I get to my number one guy.
I do like your take on the tight ends in the best ball world. I think where I struggle with them is in the redraft world. I think either elite or I just don't want a tight end until the very end.
Agreed. And the difference is I like waiting at tight end anyway, so I want the third guy. But my decision of tight end 28 or wide receiver 70, I promise you, I looked at the numbers. Wide receiver 70 scores less than tight end 28 because wide receiver 70 may have higher upside, right? They might hit and be a wide receiver 2 on the year, but there's a good chance they don't see the field much and they have 300 yards and 1 touchdown. Where like that tight end 26. Maybe it's a couple of weeks because there's an injury at tight end, or maybe they just catch 4 touchdowns. And like, that's a chance to be in my flex, right? Yeah. Like I just want guys that can get my lineup. Also gives me security of if my tight end goes down, I'm not worried about my 9th receiver because I have 8 guys ahead of him, right? Like I'm not going to have to rely on this guy to be a floor play. And if I do, I'm not winning the tournament.
Right. Yep. Gotcha. Yeah. Cool.
All right. Here's Mouth's rankings. So dude loves Sam Roush. Like I love Skylar Bell and I like vagina. He has Sam Roush at 1, Kenyon Sadiq at 2, Stowers at 3, Justin Jolly at 4, Trigg at 5, and Max Clare at 6. Mouth, I want you to go and watch. We were just talking about Oscar Delp. I want you to go watch this guy. Maybe he would crack your top 6. What do you think of his rankings, Dakota?
So at 6, Max looks like he's a left tackle there. Not too familiar with him. Do like that he's putting him in landing spots here, it looks like. So where does he project Roush to go? Does he project Roush to be draft ahead of 12 or 14, where Sadiq is projected to go to Baltimore, I think at 14?
No, I think that's Sadiq. Looks like that's the Jaguars.
Okay, yeah.
So Roush and the Titans would actually be lovely because they need a tight end. Gunnar Helm's fine. He's an inline guy. And Sam Roush is as well, but he's just better than Gunnar Helm. That's a 3rd round pick. I think Sam Roush is a 3rd round pick because he is pretty much consensus rated like tight end 6, tight end 5, tight end 4, something like that. Okay. And that it's in the zone of like the wide receiver zone of like 5 or 6 through 15 is like all interchangeable guys. Tight ends like after if you want to say even Max Clare could be in the zone. After 2, it's like 3 through 8 are kind of like pick your flavor.
Right. Okay. And then so Eli Stowers, right? He was a quarterback coming into college, correct? And then
yes.
And then put on a bunch of weight and I think you spoke to it very well in terms of these guys are trying to find their niche to get in the NFL, and I think it made a lot of sense for him to move into the tight end world. But he has 2 years under his belt. You're just loving the high upside though, potential of it.
Yeah, so Mouth, interesting. He says, I rank them how I think their careers will go. So not necessarily how he would draft them. The thing is, I have Skylar Bell way higher. I wouldn't you don't have to take Skylar Bell at wide receiver 5. That's just how I have it ranked. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't do that in Dynasty. I wouldn't do that in anything. It's just like, same with, and also for everyone, when we're talking about these rankings, like last year I had my boy Tucker Kraft as the tight end 3 going into the year. Now, I didn't draft him at tight end 3 because I also do 36 leagues, and I was drafting him at tight end 10, where he was going, and I knew I'd get 50% share based on at cost. Right. Sometimes I reach for him a little bit, but like, just because I'm not ever advocating jumping 4 rounds. That's just dumb. If someone's willing to do it, there's always another draft. And now if you're only in one league, you might have to jump around to make sure you get them. Yes. But that's also not good business, dude, because I'm going to take value and I'm going to get my guys eventually. So like
Absolutely.
that's just where I think they're going to finish. And that's what Mouse kind of saying. He's
For
going
sure.
more long game.
Gotcha. Okay.
How he thinks their careers will go. And he loves Sam Roush.
Perfect.
Have you watched Sam Roush?
I have not. No. I'm gonna say again, I don't scout a lot of tight ends, and maybe I should. Maybe the NFL is completely moving to the tight end world. But yeah, for me it's Bowers. Maybe McBride if he's in a decent spot. And then I'm just gonna take value down the road. So but maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I need to reevaluate this. So I'll look into this a little more, and that's why I was asking the questions. I appreciate the insight.
Yeah, I'm way more into going earlier tight end in redraft than I am in best ball because I can pair 3 of them. And like, I don't want to roster, obviously, definitely not 3 tight ends on my roster in redraft. I don't even like rostering 2. And I like that. That's, we've talked about this forever in the community, the tight end dead zone, which is usually from like tight end 4 to tight end 7. Those guys is always, it's like they're the best available, and guys just like they have their roster filled out. It's the 6th round. They're like, oh, I'm going to take this guy because, he's a starting tight end in a good situation. And he goes for 50 catches, 700 yards and 5 touchdowns, which is fine. And he ends up finishing at tight end 5. The problem is tight end 9 ends up finishing 1 point per game behind him, which goes 4 rounds later. Right. So I want, for me, it's Brock Bowers this year. Last year I had McBride as my number 1 tight end, and I wasn't drafting as such because I didn't have to. But McBride was going, end of 2nd, early 3rd. Bowers is going mid 2nd. This year it's flipped, where you have McBride going, I want to say early 2nd. He's probably going to go early 2nd redrafts. Bowers, I expect to go 2-3 turn. And it's only 6 picks, but for me, there's a clear, every year we have this 16, 17 guys that are elite. You can't miss on them, right? And after that, then you're into the Chris Olaves and Nico Collins of the world, which are fine, but you're not missing as much on taking Bowers then. I'm not taking Trey McBride over Saquon Barkley. Like, I don't want to do that because running back's much more important. If Malik Neighbors medicals come back, I'm not taking Trey McBride over Malik Neighbors, but I will take Brock Bowers over Chris Olave because Chris Olave doesn't have a top 5 ceiling to me. And we saw his best year, and he might do that again, but he's going to return value at best. He's not going to really exceed value. Right. And then after that, it's like, dude, like Colson Loveland at 10-3, Harold Fannin, Harry Fanny. Yeah, he's okay. Like they're going to probably be value picks, but I prefer the running backs and receivers in that range. And I'm just going to wait. Sure. Tucker Kraft, Sam Laporta, Mason Taylor. I know it doesn't seem like valuable for redraft because it's fucking so late, but man, Mason Taylor will be a top 12 tight end this year. You think that's crazy?
I don't think it's crazy. I think Geno needs to figure it out though. Geno fell off a cliff last year. It wasn't just the Raiders. And if Geno doesn't come back to earth, Mason Taylor has no shot. So a little concerned there. Do want huge super chat by Mouth. Awesome, man. Want to ask you a question though. So Kyle Pitts, and sorry if I'm taking over here with this tight end thing, but Kyle Pitts. So if Sadiq and Stowers both go in the top 60, are they both ranking ahead of Kyle Pitts in 2026 redraft in your rankings?
No, hell no. Okay. I'm trying to think of a situation that either of them would. And there's really, I think maybe Miami, because Miami's depth chart is so, and that would mean they didn't take an early. If it was Sadiq there, that would mean they didn't take a 1st-round receiver, and it's Jalen Tolbert, and it's literally nothing. And Malik Willis is a guy that will throw his tight ends. But Kyle Pitts, man, it's the same thing. It's Kyle Pitts, Sam Laporta. Those 2 guys going in that range. Kyle Pitts is sexier, right? And with his finish last year. But you go back and look at Sam Laporta on a top 5 offense. He doesn't have the target share that you want from an elite tight end, but you have the floor of probably 7 touchdowns, right? It's Jared Goff every year, 4,500 yards, 32 touchdowns. That's not changing. That's not changing. At least not. It's going to fall eventually. I feel like you have 1 or 2 years left of Jared Goff. So it's like, I'm not going to take an X factor at that point in the draft when I could just take a guy I'm pretty sure is going to be a top 5 tight end. Yeah. But I people will do it because people love rookies. And I am not the biggest rookie guy. Definitely not for tight end, not for any position, man. Give me the guys that are this year. I'm going to really target a lot of these year 2 guys that struggled. And then also the year 3 receivers, the Brian Thomas class, not Lad McConkey because he sucks, but the guys that are forgotten. Now people are writing them off. They're like, oh, they're just average players. When the year before it was an all-time epic, they all dominated. So like, I'm going to go and get value on those guys. And yeah, I might miss on a couple rookies, but like, what's the hit rate on rookies? And the problem is it takes so long for these rookies to show out. I want to win early. I want to make playoffs. Yes, that's probably why I don't win a lot of these leagues. I make the playoffs. Last year was 26 leagues, 27 leagues out of 36. I made the playoffs, which is an insane rate. But I didn't win. I only won 9 of them. But like, I just want to make the dance. And like, if I have to wait 6 or 7 weeks, that's clogging a roster spot. And if it doesn't pan out, now I wasted 6-7 weeks on my roster when I could have been picking up some of these upstart guys, some of these guys that have, end of season potential based on injuries.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm with you there. I'm following that along as well. I think one thing that boosts the tight end in my eyes is with a young quarterback. So I do really like Bowers. If the Raiders do go with Mendoza, what's your percentage that they trade out of that pick or they go in a different direction? I don't think it's a lock like everyone's saying.
Mendoza?
I don't know. With the Raiders, I just feel like there's something I don't know. I'm just not sold on him like everybody else is, and maybe it's a bias for me. But 1 year, I do like him in the clutch, but I just have concerns elsewhere.
They should trade out of it. I mean, just because it's just like smart. The hit rate on these quarterbacks. And now you could say, yeah, they have Tom Brady and they're cleaning up their franchise, but it's not. They're not the Patriots. They're not one of these awesome. They're not the Ravens. Like, so this could go wrong. And it's just, look at what happened with the Bears. Look at the Bryce Young trade. I know it helped that we ended up getting Caleb, who was better, but let's just say we didn't get Caleb. Like, we won that trade. And let's just say Bryce Young was better than he has been. Like, we won that trade because we got DJ Moore. We got multiple first-round picks. And the only way we lose that trade if Bryce Young becomes Patrick Mahomes. And there's only one Patrick Mahomes in the league, bro. There's only one Josh Allen. As much as you hate Josh Allen, franchise quarterback, Lamar Jackson, these guys they're going to get you in the mix every year regardless of your situation, your roster, and your coaching. There's only 5 of those guys in the league. And, we're talking about a 15-year sample size of drafts. Look at Trevor Lawrence. Decorated prospect, and he's never been the difference maker there. You get Liam Cohen, okay, awesome. Now you're winning, but that's a Liam Cohen thing, and they're winning because of Liam Cohen, not in spite of Trevor Lawrence, but like he's a piece of the puzzle where it's like that's not worthy of the number 1 pick. If you could trade off of it and get a blue chip player at 5 and get another first rounder and another third rounder, when you're in a division that you can't win as well for how many years, maybe ever, let's build our roster from the inside out. And I like Mendoza. They're just forced to because the fan base, man. They would revolt if you do that because people want, it's why TikTok's a thing. They want immediate fucking shit. And I understand it. He's fine. I like Mendoza and he's the clear guy. I think he'd be more valuable this year though, because there's a lot of quarterback needy teams. There's nobody else. Like now Mouth loves Ty Simpson. Some guys like Ty Simpson. He is a long shot at best to be like an elite guy. Brock Purdy's his ceiling. And as much as I love Brock Purdy, that's not a great ceiling. If that's like your tippity top of the 10 percentile outcome.
Yeah. I'm not a Ty guy. I don't see it. What did he have? 6 weeks, 15 games. The first 6 weeks were awesome. And then he fell off once everyone figured out how to scheme against him. Not huge for me. But I think the Raiders trade out. I don't know why. It just sticks to me. But
that's a hot take.
Well, you're right. But remember this, and the fan base will revolt. But remember, they left Oakland, so they're in Vegas now, and these guys aren't living in Vegas. So it's a little easier to make that decision and do that now in that space, I think. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Excited to watch it. You'll be streaming live?
Yeah, I think so. I probably will. And then every single night after the draft, we'll be streaming. And then the next week, we'll be doing a lot of landing spot stuff. Maybe take a little bit of time off. When I say a little bit of time off, for me, that's 2 days. That's a long time for me. Mouth with a $20 banger. Thanks, buddy. I owe you a shot and a chug for that. Actually 2 because you hit 2 goals. Understand, always make sure you do value, but no ball. If you watch film and understand and no ball, you see that tight end 2 is another starting spot. Roush is the only full-size pure tight end 1 in the class with elite ball skills. He loves Sam Roush, and I want to love him. I do like him. I like him a little ahead of a consensus or right there. I went back and watched all the film because of your love and Storey's love for him. I just see a lot of Jake Ferguson stuff, although maybe that's a good thing because Sam Roush is 6'6", 270. Where like if you look like Jake Ferguson, but you're 20 pounds heavier and 2 inches taller, like that should be a ringing endorsement. Maybe I'm getting too enamored with these athletic monsters, but yeah, he's definitely going to have a long career in the NFL, which is, there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah. And speaking of the Titans, I see Love not getting past 4. I see Love landing right there in Nashville.
Mouse says if they trade down, it would be to New York. I'm guessing he's talking about the Giants, who have 2 first-round picks and a bunch of capital. That would be good. So what is their other pick?
Well, they have Dart, though.
No, the Jets. Did I say Giants? I meant Jets.
Yeah, gotcha. So
the Jets have 2.
Yeah.
So now we've seen it. We have a precedent for this. It wasn't from 2 to 1, but it was the Trubisky fucking trade from 3 to 2, which is the silliest thing. A bad trade if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes, but even worse because of Patrick Mahomes.
Well,
so it would probably take. What do you think it would take? The 2 and then their second rounder this year. Will be the 34th pick that gets it done.
It could be the first next year, honestly. And if I'm not mistaken, the Jets have quite a few next year. So, I think it would be a debacle on the Jets end to trade up for the quarterback here this year when they could clearly go for a guy next year. But yeah, I think it would be a second first, honestly, because it's just that coveted 1-1 spot. But yeah, that was the Niners that went ahead and let you guys come up for Trubisky, but we made a horrible pick on Solomon Thomas as well. So bad for both of us.
Yeah, and also let's not let you off the hook there with the Trey Lance trade, which was and the problem with the Trey Lance trade, wasn't that way before the draft too? Wasn't that like fucking 3 weeks before the draft?
It was, yeah, and I think there's 2 ways to look at it. One is, it didn't work out. It wasn't good. Set us back a little bit, probably cost us getting to another Super Bowl. Definitely not last year, but the year before, we were hurting because we had to try to fix the team without a lot of rookie talent and things from losing 3 first-round picks, right? So good thing is we don't hit on first-round picks, so they're kind of a waste anyways. But yeah, I think when you're looking at it from the Niners perspective, if Trey Lance hit with everything he could have offered, it's a no-brainer. And I think with the roster and the way things were lined up, I think it made sense to go for it. But yeah, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Bad. Didn't work out.
You know what's wild to say? So Mouth says this is the year the Jets have to draft a quarterback. It's because Mouth expects the Jets to be a lot better than most people, even though there is 4 or 5 blue chip players at quarterback next year. But like he's expecting them not to have that chance. So they could always trade back up into that range. But is it crazy to say that the Jets are actually it's crazy to say ever the Jets are better than any franchise, but it's actually a better situation in New York right now in terms of weapons and everything on offense than it is in Vegas, because they're gonna have to spend the number 1 pick on Mendoza. Brock Bowers is awesome. Ashton Jetty's awesome. The O-line's not great. I know Linderbaum's a nice signing, but you have Trey Tucker there. You have Jack Besh there. You have Dante Thornton there. You don't have any true. And also, are they really going to go Mendoza and then second-round receiver? Like, they have too many holes on defense to do that, and they also need some more offensive line help.
Yeah, no, I think that's why I don't like Mendoza, right? Like, build from the inside out, get some line help, whether it's offensive or defensive line, and help the team be better. But yeah, I think, with Genty and Bowers, you're in a great spot. They'll find a receiver. They'll take a shot on somebody. Hopefully it's not Boston. Hopefully it's not Branch, but it probably will be one of those 2 guys, knowing the Raiders. The Jets, though, I'd like to understand a little bit more why they have to take a QB right now. I do know Geno is not the guy.
Placeholder. Definition of placeholder.
Right. And I think he's in there to do what the Raiders did, which I don't think the Raiders thought they were getting to the number 1 pick, but I think the Jets think he's getting them to the number 1 pick. So, yeah.
And he's someone you could sell your fans on that 2 years ago, he had 30 touchdown, or 3 years ago, he had 30 touchdown passes. And, he's a reclamation project. He's actually not, he's pretty old, but he's not he's not Kirk Cousins. And the nice thing about doing the trade, if you are the Raiders, is like, they're going to be bad even with Mendoza, but this trade would all but guarantee you the lottery next year, the top 3, top 4 picks next year. And you're just moving the clock back 1 year. But again, like I said, that division's so tough. It's like, you have a 5-year, it's a 5-year rebuild. I know it's wild to say, and it's just in the, NFL is not usually 5-year. It can go 1 or 2 years, last to first. Not in this division, not with Patrick Mahomes, not with Bo Nix, not with Justin Herbert, not with those coaches in the division. It's just not happening for the Raiders in the next, it might be 2030. Does that sound crazy to say it's 2030?
I'm not as high on the Chargers as everybody else is. I see, obviously.
Come on, Mike McDaniel, bro.
Sure, but you got McDaniels, who's a hothead. You have Harbaugh, who's a known hothead, and then you got Herbert stuck in the middle of that, who's been all over the place his whole career. That dude's a roller coaster ride, whether of good and bad, and everything in between. Feel bad for him a little bit. Nobody could stay healthy on the offense line to help him. And what did they do to get better there? So we'll see.
I love playing. I got to grab a beer. I'm going to play this. This is my Justin Herbert clip. And if you don't know, the creepy old man, I'm going to say that in Family Guy, is called Herbert. So this makes a lot of sense.
That's a nice muscly throwing arm you got there.
Thanks.
Got a nice tip for you right here in my pocket for my arthritis. Why don't you reach in there and fish it out for yourself?
Strong muscly throwing arm you got there.
Yeah, the swimming hole.
All right.
Swimming hole clip.
Let's see. I do have to get to my number 1 player moving up my draft board, and then we could chat a little bit more. Let me get here. So, Ted Hurst. Have you watched much Ted Hurst film?
0. So
0, huh?
Yeah, interested here too. Yeah, if you notice with my best ball drafts, I'm staying away from a lot of rookies as well, except for some random builds where I've just the value have fallen there in current ADP.
Surprised you're not going for the rookies, just because without knowing the landing spots, like it's a boom or bust proposition. You like doing the go for the gold kind of thing. So, I like to wait until I always say there's a meaty part of the curve where you should draft these guys. So right after the draft, before the draft, they go too high because of possible upside. Right after the draft, they go very, very high because it's like last year, the best example was Jack Besh. It was, oh my God, he's gonna be the number 1 receiver there. Jacoby Myers is bad. And Jack Besh was like a 12th or 11th, 10th, maybe 10th round pick in underdog. And then, some of the reports come out, the depth charts come out, and then he's like undrafted. It's like the time to draft these guys is that lull period, right when OTAs start and you get some of the negative reports coming out. Yeah. But like right after the draft, not good. Before the draft, not good. And then right before the season is not great because then people are just going to go like rookie crazy. But there is a nice spot to draft these rookies. But so Ted Hurst, small school, Georgia State, which is, again, kind of concerning, similar to my Skylar Bell thing. But he is 6'4". He is 206. He ran a 4.42. Broad jump, 99 percentile, 36.5 vert, which is pretty goddamn good for a guy that's 6'4". And here's my comp. So you're gonna have to watch this guy, but here's my comps. So these are both high-end comps, but he's a mix between Jameson Williams and George Pickens. So he's Jameson Williams can fly at 6'2", like 190. Jameson Williams was a 4.3 speed, and it shows on the field. But Jameson Williams is bad at football. Like, he's in a perfect situation there with Jared Goff and St. Brown. He's bad at football. Watch his film. So many drops. Not really great at tracking the deep ball. Like, how many deep bombs do you actually see Jameson Williams catch? It doesn't happen because he turns the wrong way and drops the ball.
Right.
But what he does do is you give him a little crossing route. he takes that shit to the fucking house regularly. So Ted Hurst he doesn't have that speed because Jamison Williams is a 1 percentile athlete in the NFL. He's a gazelle. But he has some of the George Pickens stuff down the field in terms of like high pointing the ball, and he's still a pretty raw prospect. But when I see him running, he's just a long strider. So he's somewhere in between those two for a high end. Now, the low end, I can give you a million names of these small school guys that have great measurables that bust out. But this dude he's just a big body dude. And like watching the film, he has some body catches. That's a concern. But I don't know. Like, I don't see that much difference in him and Carnell Tate. I know that might sound crazy. I obviously, I hate fucking Carnell Tate, but I feel like they're similar athletes. I actually think this guy's a better athlete, and production's awesome. Like, he had 2 awesome years of 9+ touchdowns. Fucking love this kid. And a lot of teams are talking about like, oh, we really like Ted Hurts in the 4th round. He ain't gonna last in the 4th round. This is gonna go in early day 2. I feel like he's top 50.
Really?
I do, dude. He's 6'4". He's almost 210. 4.4 speed.
Better than Jalen Coker as a prospect.
Oh, yeah. I'm a cokehead, man. I love Jalen Coker, but he is much more of a floor player. I don't know how elite, like Jalen Coker can never be a number 1. Now, I don't know if Ted Hurst can be number 1. Like I said, it's now he has George Pickens to his game, but he is more of Jamison Williams than George Pickens. And Jamison Williams could never be a number 1 in the NFL. Just he's not polished enough. His route tree is not deep enough, and he just drops too many passes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, just reading a little bit about him. Looks like a lot of the news around him is the Dolphins, which you've been projecting a lot of guys to potentially fit in with the Dolphins this year.
They need two weapons in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, cool. Again, there's another guy I'm going to add. I had to watch some film on and kind of see what considered a potential top 100 pick. But you got him going a little bit higher than that. So interesting to see where he pans out.
I've done too much because again, for me, I'm out of my element. If you haven't noticed, like I'm an NFL, I'm a fantasy guy. So like this is Storey's element. As you see Storey talk, like he knows these guys out of high school. It doesn't mean he's necessarily better at projecting these guys. Like our hit rates are pretty similar. I'm not saying he got lucky, but like the Puka call for Storey is all-time legendary, and I will back that. I'll also give him shit about his Quentin Johnson call, but you know what? Everyone was having Quentin Johnson at 1. But like I heard. And every year I do a lot of film study. I watch a lot of shows. I listen to a lot of, Todd McShay, and I listen to all Steve Smith's analysis and guys I respect.
Right.
And from all those shows combined, I heard Puka's name like 3 times. On the 20 shows we did pre-draft that year, I heard Puka's name 20 times. Actually more, because he was mentioned multiple times per show. Right. Like, he's a 5th round pick from BYU. He's a Hawaiian dude. And that's an all-time flex, and I don't think it was luck. So I do Storey does know his shit. Mine is more of I have an open slate because I don't have any bias about these guys.
Right.
So, but I'm still out of my element, because I've probably watched 120 hours at this point of film, which is quite a bit since the combine. And I still I have to look at notes, and I have to go back and look at stats in front of me, because NFL, you could talk about a 3rd string running back. I'll give you everything about the guy, what college he went to, his production profile, all those things, because that's what I do. So, but I want to know these guys, and it's not just about this year; it's about down the road. I always bring up the Michael Wilson thing because it makes sense, because he was given up on. He wasn't a high draft pick. If a guy gets the opportunity and you didn't like him, I'm much more. I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't care about the opportunity. If I like a guy and he has the opportunity. Or if we're talking dynasty, especially, hold on to some of these guys. We're not always right, but I just like to think we're right more than we're wrong.
Right. Forgive me, I wasn't around during the Puka days. Was Storey on him ahead of the draft, or is this post draft?
No, this is ahead of the draft. This is post draft.
Okay.
This is before this is after the combine, when he had a bad combine.
Yeah.
And then once he went to the Rams, he's like, this is just the perfect fucking Rams player. Right. And everyone's like, well, Cooper Kupp. But Cooper Kupp was getting a little long in the tooth. And their depth chart was it was Van Jefferson. It was a bad depth chart.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I gotta just thank him because I ended up getting like 13 shares of Puka, and like everyone was picking him after week 1 because Cooper Kupp got hurt and he went off.
Right.
I was drafting him with my last pick.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we had him. I had him targeted in round 4 in the dynasty rookie draft, which I didn't get him. So, somebody else was jumped on him a little bit, but nobody, no one that I was talking to or listening to had him anywhere higher than that. So yeah, being higher on him than that was an incredible call.
I just think in general, just talking about him because he was so buried.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he was just a boring player. And, that's like some of the guys like Ted Hurst and some of these guys, like, that's why I love Skylar Bell because he seems like a boring player. And like people, they're not flashy. People want to talk about, oh, this guy ran this guy had this measurable. Like, that's fine and dandy, but that doesn't translate. And a guy like Puka, I don't even know what to say about Puka Nacua besides the fact he's a fucking biter. We all know he's a fucking biter.
Right.
But it's so goddamn, he's getting better. Like the first year was just literally, it was a limit. It was a lot of little hitches, a lot of in-breaking routes. Now he's running down the field. Now like he hasn't even unlocked his game yet, which is so scary with Puka. Like, and having Devontae there just on the outside, freeing up that space. If you single Devontae Smith or Devontae Adams, like, he's gonna burn you. And the tight ends are just dominant. Like, what a fucking situation they have there. And the turnaround from LA is just unreal. Remember how they traded all their draft picks to win that Super Bowl?
Yep.
And they've rebuilt that defense with like nothing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So funny story. I don't know if you recall Simi Fehoko, Stanford receiver, went to the Cowboys. So I was on him and I remember, and then 2 years later saying to my friend, and Simi Fehoko was drafted at 179 and Puka at 177, both in the 5th round. And I recall saying to my friend, like, hey, if you want another deep sleeper, Puka, and he goes, oh yeah, another Simi Fehoko. Yeah, no thanks, right? And then ended up regretting that one. But again, I wasn't high on him at all, like it sounds like Storey was.
Mal's talking about the Jets again for the Raiders, and then Elijah Surratt. That way he's mentioning probably with the Raiders. That would be a Raiders fit. What are your thoughts on Surratt? Have you watched a lot of him? Obviously, you know him from like the college football playoffs.
Yeah, not a ton. I haven't. Like I said, I haven't delved a ton into the rookies yet. Did this kind of in terms of guys that I'd heard about it and was looking at for today's show, but not getting in. I haven't. Sometimes listening to you guys, I'm learning about guys as well. So
that's the point. We all want to learn. Yeah, I like Surratt. He's a very high floor player that is just not talked about enough, but the upside is not good. But you have the connection with Mendoza, and the draft capital won't be like before the process started. It was Surratt and Omar Cooper were both like, say 8 and 9 in terms of wide receiver rankings.
Yeah. And
now Omar Cooper is most certainly going in the 1st round. And it was because that he had the production, and it's not like he had an insane combine, but it was good enough. It was a 4.42. Some of the other stuff was good. I don't feel like that. I feel like he's overrated in terms of like how he's jumping from 8 to 4 just based on an above average combine. And Surratt like had a bad combine. Now he's at 12. Like, I just don't like to just overreact to these things too much. I'm going to go on where they were originally.
Right. Yeah. Give me Casey Concepcion ahead of both of them.
Oh, fuck yeah. Concepcion. Mouth. Okay. Sam Roush is Mouth's guy. And this is his Puka. So he's saying that this is his Puka.
Okay.
There it is. You know what? Storey also loves him. So I'm the one that's on an island, even though I'm at consensus. So it's not like I hate the guy, but I feel like I hate him because you guys love him so much, which is fine. We'll see. We got to talk about draft capital and where it goes, which is a lot of these guys. And like the biggest thing is we don't know the situation. So right now we're literally projecting, we're talking about the talent, but like these, like the bottom line is Tom Brady. I was talking about Blake about this earlier in the Discord. Tom Brady, what would Tom Brady's career, would he even had a career if Bledsoe didn't get hurt? Because he was was it 6th round pick, 5th round pick, right? Not a really decorated player. Early on in his career, he was literally a game manager, and the Patriots knew what they had, and they would have loved him just as a backup, right? Just like you sit behind Drew Bledsoe. Drew Bledsoe was only like 31 years old when it happened. So Tom Brady, late draft pick, and he needed the opportunity. He got the opportunity, but a lot of these guys don't. So, like, the best player of all time, we none of us can disagree with that. Tom Brady he's the best player of all time, probably one of the best athletes in terms of success in the history of sports. And he might have been an afterthought, might have never started a game until he was like in his 30s. At that point, it would have been over. And like, that's how like delicate this process is.
Yeah, for sure. Brady wasn't a prospect. Was a winner. Got benched for Drew Henson when Henson left the Yankees and came and played a little college football. Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And it's not like Bledsoe was just some slouch.
Former number 1 overall pick, man.
Right, and had taken the Patriots to a Super Bowl. So again, it was 6, 7 years earlier than that. Hadn't really had the success. Parcells had moved on, but he was still a top quarterback and was definitely going nowhere until Brady came in and shined. I'm not sold on the was a system guy or what was the term you used there? Game manager. I hate that.
That's how he was. That's what he was asked to do.
Well, right, because you're learning the position and doing that. That's the most like LeBron, Cam Newton takes. I hate that term. So, but
why are you bringing LeBron to this?
Well, because that's such a LeBron type thing to say. I feel like I just feel like those are like the arguments to prove why. Give Cam Newton for 2 seasons, and that's all I want from him. There's a reason why.
Speaking of LeBron, let's get to these comments real quick, and we'll talk about LeBron a little bit. Footwork is great and you know what he is. Talking about Sam Roush. He is 270 pounds, so that's awesome. And yeah, the 40 time, it wasn't even that bad for him. Speaking of LeBron, his whole team is hurt. Now he's playing with legit bums. It's a bad roster. Very bad roster. He's also the oldest player the NBA's ever seen. They're probably going to lose in the first round, but he's been dominating. Have you seen his numbers since I know you hate numbers because they don't matter. Have you seen his numbers since the guys went down?
Listen, it's not that I hate numbers because numbers don't matter. It's what do the numbers tell to the scenario? Like, if we don't play defense, shouldn't everybody score 20 points a game?
They don't.
Right. And so, I mean, a lot more guys do now than they ever have, but you're right. And it just goes to show, that's why I don't think that the NBA is in the best place it's ever been. I don't think it has the best players it's ever had. Are they taller? Can they dribble better at 7 foot than they ever have? Sure.
Shoot better.
But that doesn't, yeah, sure. Because no one guards them. Yes. Anyone can shoot better if you're not guarded.
Okay. It's hard to guard someone. It's hard to guard someone 25 feet away from the hoop because they'll burn you if you get up on them. Bottom line.
Not if you can play with a hand check like they played with prior to 2004. That is not the case. Hence the hand check. So that's defense to me. Basketball. I'm an old timer. I know. So we don't have to go there.
But you're not an old timer. You're fucking.
We don't have to go there,
bro.
Again. We don't have to go there again.
No, we do. Well, I do want to bring this up because I saw this stat. And this is mind blowing. I just want to know if you're going to throw this one out too.
Yes,
so,
because you're
very interesting.
You're bringing up stats that are
okay. Well, anyways, there's no one else is doing this now. So for the 23rd time in his career, LeBron James will finish the season averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. No other player in NBA history has done it more than 10 times. So he is now doubled the list.
Right.
And remember Tyreek Evans when he had 25 and 5 as a rookie, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this dude!" And he was a bum. Because 25 and 5 is pretty rarefied air. It's a very complete season. And whether you say it's stat padding, one thing I want to say about LeBron that we didn't talk about, and I know like give me your Russell Westbrook temperature. Do you like Russell Westbrook, his career, all that kind of stuff?
Not highly sold on it again.
I figured.
He's a scorer, and he had the triple doubles, and he was a nice player. He fell off a cliff quickly. Again, had to play in 15 teams, and yeah, it's just.
But you agree that he was beyond stat padding and stat chasing, right?
Beyond, you mean he was doing that?
Like he was doing it like no one else has ever done it before.
Right. Yeah. Once they broke up the supposed big three there in OKC, yeah,
bonkers.
Yes.
So you wouldn't call LeBron. LeBron doesn't his game. He does the right play. He's not a stat. Now you could say he's a stat patter because how long he's been doing it, but he's not a stat chaser. Like there's a lot of games that he finishes with 20 points, 20 plus points, and like 13 rebounds and 9 assists. Where it's like most guys are like, damn, I'm gonna make sure I get this last assist to get the triple double. That's just human nature. He's never been that one that does that. He just does the right basketball play and just plays the game and the flow of the game. Doesn't really steal rebounds from his bigs. Doesn't pass up layups to get an assist to get a triple double. Things like that. So to my point, the 23 times they're averaging 25 and 5. And now you might be like, those are easy numbers to average because he makes it look easy, averaging 27, 7, and 7 for his career.
Right.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. I'm saying, give the man some respect. 23 years of those numbers when a guy, Tyreek Evans, like these guys make their career on 1 year of this.
Yes.
Unreal.
So the guy is one of the best players to ever play, top 11 player of all time. Regardless of where you put him, whatever, that's fine. I'm not saying he's not a great player. The argument that I would ever have to why I am done hearing about LeBron and hearing all the apologies of all the LeBron apologists is that everything LeBron has done since about season 5 or 6 in the NBA has been to strategically align himself against Michael Jordan. And for me, that is not basketball. That is just garbage to me. Go play the game. Go get the stats. Do what you need to do.
He has.
Well, he has, and he's also not. He's played one time, 82 games.
No one does that, bro. Nobody plays 82 games.
Rob,
besides what's the guy on Brooklyn?
Pull up NBA. Pull up the NBAreference.com, the list of MVP winners in the history of the NBA, and look at the average minutes per game, and look what it did halfway through LeBron's career. Guys don't even average 3/4 of basketball anymore and are winning MVPs. That's an MVP.
You're just punishing him for so much.
That's a great player. You're not even playing
the guy.
3/4.
Dude, you should hate Kawhi Leonard then. Kawhi Leonard doesn't play basketball.
Right. I miss me with the entire era, honestly, because these guys.
So you're just an era hater. You just hate this era. That's what it is.
It's not. They just don't play defense, and they're all just trying to politic to make the most money and to do what makes sense for them business wise. And I get it. Jordan showed everybody how to make themselves into a business. I was like, but Jordan played basketball first, business second.
And politics never. He didn't want to get it.
True.
You know what? He didn't want to ruin his brand, which I will say this. I don't respect Jordan in that regard because I also don't want to hear politics from my NBA players.
Ever.
But like he had a very big platform and Jordan is notoriously selfish and just greedy. He's like, I'm not going to hurt I don't want to hurt my bottom line. At least I respect LeBron for sticking to his devices. As you know who I am, Dakota, I'm going to speak my fucking mind. And I respect people that speak their mind. Whether they're right or whether they're wrong, it's not our call. I respect the fact that LeBron speaks his fucking mind. I do.
Listen, Michael Jordan went to college. North Carolina is a smart school. The guy learned business. He understood business. He was around guys that knew how to make money. LeBron had his people and have done his things. A lot of very questionable things. You've even questioned some of them. Saying that Michael Jordan was selfish by not involving politics, I don't want to hear anyone's political takes. I don't want to hear yours, Rob. I don't want to hear my mother's. I don't want to hear my brother's. I don't care about any of it. All I know is mine and what I can control, which is one vote whenever I get to go and do it. I don't want to hear anybody else's takes.
What is your political stance?
None. Right? Ooh. When they ask you, none, right?
No, but do
because
you vote? Are you actually political? Because I wouldn't know because you don't.
But right, and you won't. But yes, I do vote because I feel it's part of my civic duty. I have family in the military, and I have people that live in this country. So I feel it's my civic duty for my friends and my family to do that and try to align the best I can. But at the end of the day, I have to control what I have to control. So I want no one to align with politics. And the reason why LeBron has aligned with politics is because that's the culture now. That's the world. So he felt the pressure to have to do that. Jordan didn't have the pressure back then to do that because no one wanted to hear it. No one cared.
No, I'm not talking politics with him. I was saying how he remember the famous quote from OJ when he said, "I'm not black, I'm OJ." Remember that quote?
Yeah, right.
And Michael Jordan kind of had that same thing. He wasn't I'm not saying he went to the extremes that OJ did with only hanging out with white people and kind of forgetting his upbringing.
Right.
But there was a lot, Jim Brown and MJ had that whole thing where Jim Brown's yo, you need to speak up for your community. And MJ's I'm not hurting my brand. And unfortunately, I want some more conviction out of my guy that is, MJ couldn't hurt his brand. He maybe what's 1%. That's all I'm saying. It's dude, stand by what you believe in. Cause he had thoughts, but
right.
This isn't a personal attack. Again, we're talking basketball.
For sure.
Mouse says LeBron has lost more finals than he won, and he had better teams than Jordan in the end. Very true. You know what also he had? He had way better competition than Jordan. That's also true.
That's debatable.
Dude, no, it's not debatable.
It's extremely debatable.
Dude, John Stockton at 38 years old, that's big competition. Guy's fucking 6 foot tall.
John Stockton's one of the best point guards still to ever
at 38.
What's that?
At 38, he was at that stage of his career. Hornacek and Karl Malone.
Well, why? How comes he couldn't get to the finals ahead of that? Because the competition was stiff over there in the West, man.
Such an old
it just was. It just was, man.
I love it. I love it.
But thinking into the politics, I mean, let's align with looking at Jordan's mentality. And I'm not going to speak for the guy, but there's probably a reason why he didn't come out politically, because he probably wasn't going to align with a lot of what other people wanted him to say. He was probably going to align in a way that was going to make him very unpopular in the 90s. And that's probably why he kept his mouth shut.
Mouth, do you still have, so obviously you're kind of agree with both of us here. And again, I do have Jordan number 1. So I'm not I just have LeBron at number 2, and it's an easy number. LeBron's a 1B. I have LeBron at 1B, LeBron at 1A, or Jordan at 1A. That's what I have.
You were just the millennial troll, perfect time age range for it. And I love it, and it's awesome. But you also are smart enough to know that who is number 1. So,
but yes, but number 2. Now you're not smart enough to know who number 2 is. Mouth, where do you have LeBron? Give me your top 5. List your top 5 here. And for me, it's one of these things where we talk about this year's tight end class, right? Or the redraft tight end class. It's McBride, right? That's going to be, in terms of draft, that's Jordan. Bowers is LeBron, and then everyone out, and then the 3 is that far below, and you say that's Kareem. That's how it is with LeBron and Jordan and Kobe. That's for me. That's how it is.
Right.
That's how I think.
We know it is for how you think. Yeah, I get it.
No. It's not actually how I think. It's just how it is.
I think
you're 11's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
I don't think there's a lot of difference between Kareem and LeBron, except for one played in a hand check era, one did not. One won, one did not. That's the only difference. So,
Kobe ahead of LeBron, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Quick factoid for all you kids out there: Kobe shot 41% in the finals for his career.
Rob, imagine considering yourself the greatest player of all time and then going and playing for the Lakers. Explain that.
He's made some decisions, but you can't punish the guy. I'm looking at on the court, and longevity.
That move to me. Build a team. Don't hurt Jordan for building a team and teaching Pippen how to play and winning titles with Pippen, and then
Jordan
tell me he
didn't build that team. He was not the GM. He did not build that team. I'll give you Dennis Rodman because Michael Jordan was the only reason Dennis Rodman was able to come to the Bulls. I'll
So
give you that one.
So
No one
you're
else can
telling
harness
me
him.
the leader of a team does not build the team. He does not.
He builds the culture. He's not the general manager. No.
A culture is all you have. If you have no culture, you have nothing. Look at the Chicago Bears for decades. No culture.
This is how I know Jordan didn't build that team. We've seen Jordan try to build teams in Charlotte as the GM and owner.
Well,
that was not good. Bad talent evaluator. Bad. Dude, Kwame Brown, mic drop. Kwame Brown with his hands were smaller than mine, bro.
Well, Kwame Brown played 14 seasons in your tough era NBA that you're talking about is so tough.
But bad number one pick. Bad number one pick.
Sure, but who else were you going to take?
Anyone? I don't have it in front of me, but I guarantee there's a million better options.
That made sense. That was the pick. That was the era where Kevin Garnett made everybody look good. Kobe was making everybody look good. You're taking the high school kid.
Dude, who was the guy? Who was the wing he took that had the funkiest shooting motion ever? You know what I'm talking about? He had Michael Kidd Gilchrist. Yes, that's a drop. Remember that shooting motion? He took that guy like 3rd overall, bro. That was the most broken shot I've ever seen. That was worse than Tim Tebow's like trying to throw a football, man. That was wild. He was a good defender. Tim
Tebow, man. All-time humanitarian, man.
Miles says, Jordan failed at building the team because the owner dismantled the Bulls, fired Phil Jackson, told Michael midseason he refused to pay Scotty and was breaking it up. Well, that's true. This is not they should have won 7. They should have won 7. They would have won 7 if they brought the team back. And we've seen, and as a Bulls fan myself, we've seen how that's gone because, we did have a nice run there with D Rose and Boozer and Noah. That was a pretty badass team. One of the most exciting teams I've watched that never reached their potential. And that was that year that Derrick Rose tore his ACL against the Sixers in the first round. Do you think they would have won the title?
I'll tell you how soft the NBA is. Joakim Noah was the toughest player in the NBA. Think about that for a second.
Defensive player of the year, too.
Sorry, what, the 2006 title? Is that what you said?
No, it was more like 2009. I think that was the year 2009 when he tore his ACL.
Yeah,
in the first round of the playoffs.
It's tough to tell. Rose was nice, but it's really tough to tell what would have happened because that was the Spurs still in there.
Right.
So
and maybe part of my LeBron love is, like I was a big Bulls fan back then.
Of course.
And like going up against LeBron all those years and we had a better team, like we had a better team. Like we had depth. Thibodeau did like destroy all our players' legs because they played so many goddamn minutes. But like we had a better team and it just didn't matter because they had LeBron. It was like Derrick Rose at the peak of his powers, which I don't know what your pulse is on Derrick Rose as a player, but his peak was pretty good. I mean, he's an MVP. And when it came down to it, they're just like, okay, we're going to put LeBron on the quickest, fastest 6'3" guard in the league. And he fucking shut him down, man. And no one shut down D Rose that year. And all the people that say LeBron doesn't play defense, he picks and chooses his spots now. But like not many people in the NBA, point guard, shooting guards, any position could guard Derrick Rose. And he did. Yeah,
Derrick Rose was he played in the perfect, right? He played in the perfect era where they stopped playing defense, so he shined better. He would have played well in the 90s, but incredible that season because he could just do whatever he wanted offensively. I think he would have still excelled in the 90s. I think sort of like a Penny Hardaway. Again, 2 guys that got injured. Penny, slightly different players, but both could score it. He's good. But hey, let's talk about Jordan drafting Kemba Walker, All-Star, LaMelo Ball, All-Star, probably one of your favorite players. Wearing the
LaMelo Ball's terrible. That guy sucks. Talk about a bum. That also doesn't play very many games either.
Yeah, no, he's you got to give Jordan credit though, man, for realizing the team garbage. These guys couldn't win and saying, I'm going to draft this kid out of high school and somebody's got to teach him how to play. So I'm going to come out of retirement, sell my ownership in the team and try to show this kid how to play. Didn't work, but He did embarrass Jerry Stackhouse and got Stackhouse off the team. So I think
Jerry Stackhouse.
I think he famously. I think Stackhouse was crying that Jordan came back because it was taking away from Stackhouse's like points, and I think Jordan in a if I recall correctly in one of the practices said it said Stack, this is exactly sums up your career, buddy. Which is why you love Jordan, right? Just would never back down.
He's an asshole.
Yeah, which is great.
Because
so
was Kobe.
We backed it up.
All right, let's get out of here on this. I mentioned this to you in our chat, the Discord, about Nolan Ryan, who is the all-time hero of middle-aged bald white men. I think he's the best pitcher ever. And I think you hadn't really dove into the numbers. Did you dive into the numbers? They're terrible. He's not very good.
Right. He's a strikeout guy. He's a no-hitter guy. He has the big impact pieces. He has a guy you should love. He's got the longevity, and that's all that seems to matter when it comes to the best player ever.
That's all that matters to me is longevity, you fucking clown.
Pitched 27 years. I mean,
dude. But it was bad longevity. LeBron's great longevity. Get the hell out of here. 324 and 292 all time. I know off the top of my head. That is like 30 games over 500. And ERA plus of plus 112. 112. So that's he's average. He was a lot closer to average. And I had this argument with a buddy of mine that I bowled with forever. And he's his name is Chris. He's like 52. So he's like not my parents' generation, but he's like right in between.
Yeah.
And he was always just talking about, and he's a big baseball fan. But he hated like analytics and like any advanced metrics, which like baseball is the best game for those kind of things. Those things hit home the hardest there. And he's just like, Nolan Ryan's one of the greatest pitchers of all time. I'm like, bro, no. Pedro, my thing was, I always said Pedro was better than Nolan Ryan. And what is your take on Pedro versus Nolan Ryan?
For sure. So Pedro is phenomenal. Pedro excelled in big games. Pedro pitched in a lot of big games. I'm going to give you my take on statistics. So there is statistics and analytics have killed a lot of great businesses. They've killed they fit in places, but they are not the end all tell all. Some people take them, they get hipsterish with them. They try to be nonconformist with them and find these little winning scenarios, and it's not always the case. So where I do think, yes, a lot of the analytics play in baseball and make a lot of sense. I do think the ERA plus might be one of the ones that's not as great.
It's the best stat ever. It's just comparing you year by year by your contemporaries. That's what it is.
Inside of the season that you're playing in, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's exactly what I want, though.
It has nothing to do with era play. It has nothing to do with any of that kind of stuff. So you're going to sit there and say a guy who pitched over, it doesn't tell you 27 years. It doesn't tell you strikeouts. It doesn't tell you no hitters. It just tells you earned run average, which is fine and a good stat. But there's a lot of different pieces. If you're going to say that Nolan Ryan isn't one of the best pitchers of all time, you don't know anything about baseball. I don't think that's what you're saying. But
no, that's exactly what I'm saying, Dakota.
Oh, you're saying he's not one of the best?
Well, what is the best of all time? Top 10? Is that what you're saying? Like,
I think again, you're talking about a sport that has 140 years of history. So
I can give you modern players right now that are so much better than Nolan Ryan. So Pedro Martinez. Who's better? Who would you rather have in their career?
Well, he's not a modern player. He's already in the Hall of Fame. But
you know what I'm saying? Like modern-ish, our generation.
Right. So, but again, so when you talk decades and you got 5 great pitchers in every decade and you have 14 10-year decades, you have a shit ton of pitchers. So, yeah, he might not be top 10, but he was in all of the decades he pitched, he was a top 5 pitcher in those decades in terms of impact, in terms of pieces. Again, baseball, you can't always blame a pitcher for not getting to the big games when it's a team sport like that.
I'm not looking at wins and losses. I'm not looking at championships in terms of that. I'm looking at the dude walked a lot of guys. He hit a lot of guys, and he had a high ERA. And the ERA is the only stat I can look at.
Yeah.
So Pedro Martinez, who had 219 and 100. That was his career record. 119 games over 500, and his ERA plus is like 160. So Pedro or Nolan Ryan. Let's go through this exercise. Just on top of your head, who do you want better?
Well,
Who's
Pedro,
better?
of course.
Okay. Kurt Schilling. I hate Kurt Schilling. Hate him.
And you're talking year by year career. I mean, he won Cy Young.
Total.
He won Cy Young, so I mean, I guess in that aspect, Kurt Schilling, but overall his career, probably the whole impact of the career, probably Nolan Ryan, but better spurts.
Okay. Randy Johnson. We're all taking Randy Johnson, right?
Of course.
Roger Clemens. Definitely taking Roger Clemens, one of the best of all time. Steroid user.
Yeah. I mean, even when he was pitching for 2 months at a time, he was still incredible.
And then I'll give you a modern one, Clayton Kershaw.
Well, Clayton Kershaw, I know you're going to say, well, he's the best ERA plus and all this. Great. Kershaw is awesome. Again, didn't win, didn't play on winning teams, but was incredible, was a great pitcher. Again, was a different pitcher than Nolan Ryan. So if I'm building a team, I don't think you lose with either of those guys. I don't think you win with either of those guys solely because neither of them won. I probably take Kershaw though, but give me one batter.
Greg Maddux, definitely better.
Give me one
Greg
batter,
Maddux
3 pitches. I want Nolan Ryan over Clayton Kershaw.
We agree. Greg Maddux is one of the best of all time. Like that's an actual true GOAT.
Yeah. Give me Greg Maddux.
I just named you a bunch of guys in our lifetime that are better. I'm saying that's why Nolan Ryan's outside of my top 20 by a mile. Jonathan has a good call here. Also have to account for some of these guys who have high ERAs when they have to pitch against steroid monsters. And that's my thing about, Roger Clemens. Everyone's like, well, he was on steroids. Everyone he faced was on steroids too, even playing field. That's the Barry Bonds argument. And that's why Pedro for me is a top 5 pitcher of all time because maybe he was on steroids, maybe he wasn't. Doesn't matter to me. Is that everyone I know he was pitching against was on steroids and dominated.
The thing about steroids for me is steroids doesn't make you be able to throw a fastball. It doesn't make you be able to hit a curveball. It doesn't. What steroids does for you is over the course of 162 games plus playoffs, it allows you to stay at 100% much longer and not wear down and break down. So that's why it's a problem because it allows guys to where other guys would have been broken down and not hitting 20 homers a month, which is an exaggeration, but they wouldn't continue to be hitting those kind of home runs down the stretch as they, would have been beaten down and broken down. That's where steroids is bad for baseball. Right. A lot of the guys in the era were doing it and had the longevity. Roger Clemens was still going to be a great pitcher without steroids. Barry Bonds was still going to hit a ton of home runs without steroids. So, yeah, I'm fine with that conversation.
And you weren't exaggerating with 20 home runs because I saw Sammy Sosa hit 20 home runs in June. He did that.
Right, but he didn't do it every month. But yes.
No, right. What's just hilarious that Sammy Sosa had 3 out of 4 years. He hit over, I think, 63 home runs. He hit over 63 home runs, 3 out of 4 years. Never led the league in home runs those years.
Right. Yep. Yeah, listen, great grandfather was a huge Cubs fan. Grew up watching him on WGN a little bit here and there in the summers with him. Had a fondness for swinging Sammy. Don't know what he's doing these days, but definitely liked him as a kid.
He almost looks like this. He's very white now. Would you agree? I'll get you out of here on this. Would you agree that Barry Bonds is probably the best baseball player to ever live? Because he's not in the Hall of Fame, which is just insane. And the other answer is Ted Williams is up there. Willie Mays.
Yeah, there it is.
It's Babe Ruth. It's Babe Ruth. Like that's the answer. But like and that's so far away that like I can't even understand what Babe Ruth was based on the era.
Right. And so Babe Ruth is almost not even able to be. Babe Ruth is almost like a mythological figure at this point because Babe Ruth never played against the best players of the era. There was segregation. There were countless great baseball players that weren't allowed to play in the major leagues at the time. So he actually never played against the best pitchers, the best players of the era. Tough for me to put him there. I do want to put Willie Mays ahead of Barry Bonds. Just looking back on him, was a great clubhouse guy. Guys loved him. 5-tool guy. If you want to count clubhouse guy as a tool, 6 tool guy, was phenomenal. If you've never watched him, go back and watch some film. Don't just watch the catch over the shoulder. Watch the guy play some baseball. Was phenomenal.
Jonathan's uncle is Steve Sachs. He said he grew up hearing so many stories of people using steroids even in his era. Yeah. And I always go back to this with the Pete Rose era and just that, how they like those are the kind of the keepers of the temple for the Hall of Fame. They don't put any of these guys in. And like they were all cheating too. Baseball is a game predicated on cheating based on stealing signs and all the stuff. I know steroids is different, but those dudes were all doing greenies, which is Adderall. If you don't know.
Right.
That's cheating. That is cheating now. And that's, if you've ever done Adderall, which I have for golf and for every sport and just in general, it's good for studying. It's good for attention. It's good for energy. Those dudes had a lot of day games that was in the fucking clubhouse in fucking little candy jars. So all the guys in the 80s need to not be in the Hall of Fame either, Dakota, because guess what? They were cheating too. This is baseball. Barry Bonds is no different than any of these other players. Jeff fucking Bagwell's in the Hall of Fame, bro. Craig Biggio. Those dudes are the biggest juicers ever.
Ortiz. He was on the list.
David Ortiz. He's actually on the list. Barry Bonds was just in the Balco situation. Yeah. And then A-Rod, the A-Rod hate. Like, A-Rod's a piece of shit human being. Bad dude by all accounts. Just pretentious and just an asshole. But A-Rod's one of the best players of all time.
Go back and look what he did in 96. Insane.
Dude, that was before steroids too. He came in as a fucking rookie, 19 years old, and was an MVP candidate at shortstop, mind you, and a very good defender too.
Yeah. A-Rod was definitely a favorite player of mine. Until anybody that goes to the Bronx, not a favorite player of mine anymore. But the MLB needs
to figure this shit out because people like myself, for many reasons, are not really watching baseball anymore. But my era, our era of baseball is just being slandered, kind of how you slander the NBA era, but not for the reasons that you're slandering it, for the steroid thing, which is, it is what it is. Baseball allowed it to happen. It was a baseball problem. It wasn't these guys' problem. Barry Bonds had no choice. He was the best player in the world. He was like 15th in the MVP voting with like 40 homers and 30 steals. He's like, what the fuck is this? Like, okay, I can do this too, and I could be the best player ever at 38 years old. So I don't blame the dude.
Right.
It also wasn't illegal in baseball. It was against the law in the United States, but baseball has those things written on the wall, which is the number one thing is gambling, which shut out baseball for being the biggest hypocrites ever, because Pete Rose, not in the Hall of Fame, right? Their golden boy Shohei Ohtani definitely got popped for gambling, dude. And Shohei Ohtani should be banned from baseball, but you know what? They need him too much.
Yeah, he's keeping things moving along. I will say the NBA, it's the NBA's fault for this era. I'm not blaming anybody else, but they looked at how do we keep this run going? Jordan's out, things are falling, and we need to do something to make it more exciting and more impactful. They got rid of the hand check. That's the NBA's fault. But LeBron did play his entire career in that era, so we have to recognize it. That's all.
Good call from Sean here. Sammy and McGuire did save the game. Like, that was, right after the lockout.
Right.
That Jordan baseball was dying, bro. And Jordan saved the game after the Magic and Bird thing.
Well, Jordan was rolling.
As much as you hate LeBron saved, you don't think he saved it, but like, he's given us, in your case, a lot of people's case, a villain, even though I don't think he's a villain. He was in Miami, but a guy that is very polarizing, right? And like has been there for a long time. And all I got to say is I hope when LeBron retires that you're going to miss him, because this longevity, like, it's unreal. You're 40, right?
Yeah.
So he's been in the NBA since you were 17 years old.
LeBron's exactly 1 year older than me, pretty much. Yeah.
Dude, that's insane, bro. Oh my God. That's so long. That is so long to play that sport. This is not like.
There's so many guys that do it now, though. There's so many guys.
Kevin Durant's not far behind.
Right.
Kevin Durant's 37.
Right. And Kareem played till he was 40. I mean, there's guys that have done
sky hook, baby.
Right. There's guys that have done
not at this level. Not at this level.
Right, because they didn't get to sleep in isobaric chambers. They didn't have $1 million to spend on their upkeep.
You punish this dude
so
much.
You don't
hate him.
You don't recognize that the athleticism of today is so much easier than it was 20, 30.
It's back to LeBron now. I love it. It's hey, the story's still being written, and he's going to average like 30, 12, and 8 in the playoffs this year, and you're going to just poo-poo it.
Wilt used to strap bags of ice to the knees, and we know today that that's not what you do. So, I mean,
he also banged 10,000 girls.
Right, but we're going to hate on those guys for only playing 14 seasons? I mean, no, I'm not. I refuse to. 14 seasons is a long career.
But
a long career when you're getting beat up and you're playing in Chuck Taylors.
You also love Oscar Robertson, and you have him ahead of LeBron, which is insane.
Yeah, Big O's incredible. Go back and watch some documentaries. You love documentaries.
We can go on all night with this. Very spirited. I love it, Dakota. What a great addition to the community. Can't wait to have you on more once the fantasy season draws near, because I do respect your opinion. And appreciate everyone in the chat, especially Mouth. Guys, Downtown Sports, link in the description. Check them out if you could. I'll be back tomorrow night. Maybe Dakota will join me for a draft or two. We got a new tournament Underdog, so we got to get in it now. You did 10 fucking slow drafts, you psycho?
Yeah, they keep popping up. But, yeah, I got to get in. Just want to get some. I don't know. I like trying different things. I haven't gotten heavy into them ahead of the draft. So this year I'm going to see what they're like, see if there's a little window into maybe finding some value. But yeah, shout out to Mouth for being involved. Is it Blake? Is that Brick?
Blake.
Player?
Yeah, that's Blake.
That's what I thought. Okay, shout out to Blake for joining us and chiming in as well. And thank you,
Rob.
You
like trying new things, huh? You like trying new things?
Well, depends.
Have you ever been pegged before? I'm just saying, like, you're trying new things, like.
No,
dude, you just said it. You like trying new things on Underdog, like, you know.
Yeah, Rob, are you telling us where you're heading here in a few minutes? Is that where you're getting off?
No, my wife's actually at her sister's. She's not in town, so I might peg myself. What are your thoughts on if a girl? Okay, let's just say this. Hypothetically, you're a single guy. She starts fucking around down in your south mouth there with her finger. Like while you're inside, what are you gonna say? No. What are you gonna do? Has it ever happened to you?
We're not gonna talk about that on stream.
Oh, he's very. I try to embarrass my guests, and he does it very well. The Story's in the chat. Here we go. He joined at the perfect time. He's like,
let's get Story's answer.
Storey would just say no. Now I'll tell you. I'll just give you my answer. I've never done it, but I would not be opposed. There it is. There it is. It's pretty good.
It's years away, don't care. Jesus Christ. You ooze talent.
What's up, Story? Yeah, filling in for Ray. We missed him. He'll be back. When's he coming back?
Next week. He's at a Halo back in the day. Remember the LAN parties where you connect different Xboxes? So they're doing that right now. It's like 8th grade stuff. Just like Story has 8th grade hair. Story says that's a one way as far as I'm concerned. So I'm guessing that's a no.
Yeah.
Look at Story's picture too. It's so fucking. Look at how funny this picture is. So professional, Story.
Metzer's here. Yeah. It looks like my work photo.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything like that. I'm just a sloppy drunk. So my picture is more like I'm like Sean Penn in what the hell is that high school movie back in the day? Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's me.
Yeah, dude. Spicoli, dude. What
Spicoli.
What a phenomenal character. What's your take on Gretzky? You got Ovechkin over him because he just played so long and
Jesus, shut the hell up. No, I don't have him over him. Close though. Well, the thing is that Wayne Gretzky's points are like his assists are so insane. Yeah, like, I'm gonna put him over there for that. And Michael says, Story says, "What's that poster behind you?" I asked him that right away.
Google search MC Escher, and it'll pop up. It's one of his photos. The story behind it. Middle school, I believe. Went in. Family was getting some things framed. Saw it sitting in the corner and begged the mother needed to have it. So she gave in after about 15 minutes. Luckily it took a while to get the photos. So had that and still have it. So
Storey had the same reaction. That's right. I said the stair guy. He said going up the stairs, going down the stairs, going up the sideways stairs. That's exactly what I said, Storey. Great minds, man.
What's the reference?
I said that MC Escher's the stair guy, the
gotcha.
painting of the stairs.
Yeah.
I think South Park or Family Guy did like a little joke about MC Escher, and that's
Gotcha.
that's my extent of MC Escher knowledge, which is not very it's not very eloquent. I'll say
South Park or Family Guy.
Those kind of. That's how I learn about old things.
If you could only watch one rest of your life.
It's Family Guy for me because it's more. The episodes are so random that the episode, but you don't know what's coming.
Right.
So I always say South Park's high end is better because like some of their best episodes are so iconic and iconic moments. But the floor and Family Guy is so much better because South Park has some stinkers. And they do the season long joke and the episode longer joke all the time. If the joke doesn't hit, it's a bad episode. And Family Guy has no bad episodes because within one episode, there's 200 jokes. And 60 of them are going to hit. The thing about Family Guy is it's funnier. The smarter you are, and not so much like IQ, but in terms of pop culture references, the funnier the show is. Where my wife, I'm not calling my wife dumb. I love you, Erica. Girls don't like Family Guy as much because they're not as in tune with the stuff that we are in terms of movies and pop culture and sports and shit like that. So they just go over their head and it's not as funny. And it's all parody, it's all a joke, and it's not as original. Family Guy, that's the best thing about Seth is that he's just so smart and cheating the system and just well, you know what? I'm just gonna do a 45 second cutaway that's literally play by play of this movie, but do it with my characters in a nice setting and it works. But it's essentially he's stealing other people's material, but he does it in a very tasty way, and that's what I kind of want to do in this show.
Yeah. No, awesome. No, for sure. Chris Lilly, have you ever heard of him?
Left-handed pitcher?
No, Chris Lilly. So he's a comedian. He's from
Ted Lilly. I was thinking of Ted Lilly, a Cubs pitcher. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I'll shoot you a DM of Chris Lilly. I think you should check out some of his old shows. They were banned in a few countries, but some of them are absolutely hilarious. At least I find them, and I think we kind of share the same humor. So I'll hit you up in the DM with this.
One last question. Sorry, we've been on almost 2 hours and 45 minutes. We'll get one last question from Storey. Who's your all's quarterback 2 in this year's draft? Have you dove in? Who is your quarterback 2? I'm guessing you have Mendoza as 1, even though you're not a big Mendoza fan.
Yeah, I mean, I have to put Mendoza 1 because I'm not big on the class. Nussmeier's my number 2.
Storey's hard right now.
Yeah, Taylor Green, we're going to find out is not that guy. We already know Aller's not that guy. We've watched him choke in big spots in college.
Youngest prospect in the draft.
So yeah, and Ty Simpson for me. Like I said, once they started to figure him out, no. Again, there's one thing to be said about a guy who could run if he wanted to, and then a guy who just never ran. That's Ty Simpson. He's not just going to start to run. So kind of like
it's
Bryce
Ty for me, but it's by default. And I love Taylor Green. I love Drew Aller. Those are both projections, if that makes sense. Where Ty Simpson's going to have the draft capital. It's not a ringing endorsement, but he said Chris Lilly looks like a 47 chromosome Tommy McGuire. I got to see this fucking guy. Does he look worse than this guy?
It's so funny. Angry Voice. No. He plays all the characters. He plays all the main characters. He plays a girl in one of them. He plays Jonah, Jonah's a hilarious character. You'll just have to
you guys send this to me. All right. That's it for us, guys. Appreciate Dakota coming on. Thanks, buddy. Thank you for everyone in the chat. Tomorrow night, we'll do some best ball drafts, and then Storey will be back into town eventually. We got 3 or 4 more shows, 2 or 3. We'll figure out the number. And then Mouth will be joining me on Tuesday, I believe, to do our running back deep dive. So thank you again, Dakota. You're the man. Appreciate all your support and everything you do.
Absolutely appreciate it. Look forward to Tuesday with Mouth. See you.
All right, guys. Love your life. Stay positive. Respect each other. We're out of here.
You seemed like a good dude. I thought I'd see if you wanted to grab a beer, that's all. I'm glad you called. We get home safe, Pistol.
You got it, Jobin.
I'm sorry, what? Nothing.
Oh, what'd you say?
I don't know. You nicknamed me Pistol, and I just called you Jobin. It means nothing. I'm drunk. I'm gonna call a cab.
All right, man. You have my number, yeah?
I got you stored in my iPhone.